Hurry up, Gia Florin, hurry up. I see you. Hurry up, get that coffee. Hurry up, get that coffee. All right, welcome to Inside the Numbers, folks, with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. Follow the Insta at Peoples_Pundit on Instagram, at Peoples_Pundit on Instagram. There's going to be, there already are, like more shorts there and stuff. And of course, we do the YouTube shorts as well. But, there will be starting to be more drip stuff on Instagram because I'm having a blast with it. And I'm going to start doing more things on it soon. All right, so don't forget to check there. Don't worry, locals. I won't leave you out. Okay, of course, whatever they get, as long as it's formatted for it, you'll get it as well. The best place still, of course, to follow me is always is on locals, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com, where if you did, you would have saw a few of the charts that we're going to look at today already. All right, and in truth, they just get it updated first. Later on, probably like 2 days later, you can always go on bigdatapoll.com where the public polling project is, and you can go to the front. And if you look under portfolio, scroll down. I mean, you can go to the menu and look at it too. But if you scroll down and you look under portfolio and then projects, right? Actually, I think it's changed from portfolio to just projects now. You can filter between political and economic. You'll see, though, it always does take a couple of days before the benchmark poll that we release is put into the graph. And that is one of the graphs we're going to go over today. Is something, I'm bringing this up for a reason, is something that you guys should know. Those are the benchmark numbers typically. What we did do was backdate a bunch of polling. We didn't backdate, we just entered in polling that we had done that was not in the benchmark polling graphics. One of them especially was for partisan affiliation because there's some big deal there. And normally I like wannabes and like competitors to be in the dark, but this is so important that I did put it out there because of the difference in commentary between what reality and commentary. And I've been telling people for a while now that the problem that MAGA's having, all right, and then the 98% and 100% polls are ridiculous. I mean, you guys saw it, and we'll go over it in a second. In our poll that we just put out, which the administration got lucky with. It just so happened to be the high mark for support with Iran. It's already going back down. It was opposed, but it wasn't opposed plus 30 like some of the others. It was more like opposed plus 10, a little bit less. It is already on its way back down. A reason I'm gonna show you in a second. But one of the big things about it is not so much like what we got 20% oppose when you look at Republicans. When you look at MAGA and America First, which most pollsters really can't do, they haven't been doing it as long as we have, so they don't have the data to go back and look at the long period of the trends as far back as we do. You'll see there is a pretty significant difference between how America First thinks. If you identify as America First or MAGA, which one do you identify as? People who identify as MAGA now are much more in line with President Trump, and like whatever President Trump wants, they're going to support, even if it's intellectually dishonest. I mean, it's just a fact. Guys, I can't spend 10 years calling out the left for that kind of behavior and not be consistent and call the right out. But there has been a fracturing of MAGA, all right? Depends how you want to define MAGA, right? But I think some people are dishonestly defining it, and that's why they're getting away with some of the stuff they're doing. The fact is, a lot of people, America First spanks MAGA, which I'm going to show you right now. It's like a 60-40. If you ask people whether America First or MAGA, and then you say, okay, which one is it? America First is a bigger group, and it's not really that close anymore. And I think that's probably going to keep widening as time goes on, if this goes on like this. But there's another group that people just didn't see. And when you do propensity modeling and you do rake weighting, it can be a little bit dishonest to the overviewer, or it can trick them into thinking that, certain groups generally stay the same in the electorate. And that's just not true, which is why we put up, for instance, the partisan tracking index, right? Because over many, many, many years, we have tracked, what share of the electorate, like Gallup does, what share of the electorate identifies as Democratic, what share identifies as Republican, what share identifies as independent and or other, because we do have a something else. All right. Over time, trends become apparent. Month to month isn't always that apparent, but this month overall, because the poll we released as the benchmark is between March 22nd and March 24th. But if you're a locals community member and you're on road rage or something like that during the day, we poll every day. All right. And you see those results as I show them before they're weighted. A lot, we will do it here often as well. But if you're somebody who watches all the road rages and and you hear me vent and go on and on about some of the stuff we're seeing, because some of it's just downright depressing at this point. So I need to vent to somebody. This month, over the period, toward the end of February to the end of March, where we are now, we saw a massive, massive decline in Republican identification at a rate that we haven't seen since Joe Biden took the White House, took the keys, right? And that typically does happen after a president wins a presidential election. From the period when they're about to be inaugurated, that 20 days or so, in January, people are coming back. They're getting out of the holiday routine. The new government's going to take over. And it is very typical for that president's party to get a bump in partisan identification. And we haven't seen Republicans drop this much since Joe Biden took the White House. Okay. And I guess I could show you guys what I'm talking about here, but because I'll pull up the crosstabs in a second. And that is obviously part of the math that we all should be doing here if we're trying to look at an accurate picture of the electorate. Now, Republicans are still not as low as some of the periods in the past, but before Donald Trump won the election, in our poll, which was the most accurate national poll in 2024, Republicans were damn near 40% of the electorate. All right. And that's a data point that a lot of people didn't have. We just didn't put it in there. There it is right there. 39.7%. And the period I'm referring to right here is, by the way, you can see here's Joe Biden. He wins the election. Republican identification in January collapses. Why can't I hit that damn thing? All right. But either way, you can see by the spring, it's all the way down to 29.5%. We're not there. We're at 33.4. And I don't think at this point they're at risk of going any lower, because it's been kind of flat like this for 2 weeks. But we will see. What we can tell is that this is the lowest for Republican identification that we have measured since January of 2022, which was when it was 32.4%. All right. Now, where the hell did all those people go? You can see Democrats ticked up a little bit. Not much. All right. They ticked up from 37.4 to 37.8. Like Gallup, we do not wait for party. All right. Why? So many do. This is a huge debate in the polling industry. If you have followed me for a long time, you know why we don't wait for party. Because a pollster shouldn't tell the electorate what it's going to look like. A pollster should listen, and the electorate will tell them what it's going to look like. We wait for other things. We have modeling that we do, some of which we've discussed with you at length. Some of it's proprietary, and I'm never giving away. But the fact of the matter is, you as a pollster should be able to tell when an electorate is changing, because electorates change. If you wait for the last year's exit polls, you will be wrong. All right. Maybe you're not going to be that wrong. Sometimes you get lucky. But the fact of the matter is, if you look year after year, cycle after cycle, between midterm, between presidential election, whatever it may be, the subsequent electorate never mirrors the prior electorate. It doesn't happen because people change their views. New people enter the electorate. A big part of what's going on right now is that new voters, Republicans are losing after years of the Trump era, Republicans gaining on Democrats, and Democrats losing almost 4 million voters nationally. It used to be D+6, it's not anymore. Basically, that is over. And now Republicans are losing in a lot of very key states. All right. In states like North Carolina, you might hear people tout how Republicans are gaining registrations. They're not. Independents are gaining registrations. Democrats bled for a while, but it is the independent vote that is dominating, and the registrations that are dominating a state like North Carolina. Even in Florida, which is super, super red, where Republicans just grossly underperformed and lost special elections, including one that deals with Donald Trump's own damn district, Mar-a-Lago. A Democrat won. And they won because independents, look, do some very basic math. The electorate was R+8 in that particular race. It means Democrats had to have won independents by damn near 40 points. I'm not kidding. It had to be like 70-30 split. They got their ass kicked. So when independents are bigger gain, obviously we should expect to see that. And we are seeing it. And Democrats are kind of holding steady while Republicans fall. Where are these independents coming from? At least for now, we can tell, which I'll show you in a bit on our poll. Some of them are coming from disaffected MAGA. All right, or disaffected America First. And that when we interview them, they'll basically tell us that they don't really share anything in common with other, which I'm going to get there. I'm going to show you a totally different crosstab, and we'll get there, and I'll show you what they say when we are doing the part of the interview that says Republican identification. I mean, independent, identification. Now, don't get me wrong. Most of them still, a lot of them, will say, I lean more toward the Republican Party. I mean, that's no surprise. But they're not willing to say that they're Republicans anymore. And in fact, a lot of them are just flat out mad. And they're just saying things like, I share little in common with either. All right. I wish I could throw out 3,000 interviews, but there are, if we have some time today, I'd like to read you some of the transcripts, because transcripts of the interviews conducted, some of them are very short. They don't want to speak. They don't say anything. They don't give any insight into what they say, but most people will, even if they're curt, about it. But we have some that are really illuminating, and they'll tell you everything they need to know. If we basically dumb down those people who said, yes, I used to identify as MAGA, you will see it. And by the way, locals, I don't know if one beats the Hispanic woman that we showed you the other day, which is a woman who lives southeastern Pennsylvania, who voted for Donald Trump. She's Hispanic and she's unemployed. And it was heartbreaking. But that's where it's coming from. Yet everyone focuses on men and what's going on. Yes, this group is more male, but the biggest swings are not actually among men. They're among some of the women groups that Donald Trump did better with. I'm talking about swings as a percentage, not how bad it hurts them in the overall electorate, but as a share of what their support was before for Trump and other. But in this video real quick, which I'm going to show, which everyone cited, blah, 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 I'm going to go into our own data after that. He commits a cardinal sin, and I'm going to stop him when he does, because it's something we've talked about many, many times. It's an apples versus oranges comparison, and you got to learn when you're listening to shit like this, shows like this, when you're listening to shows like this and you're listening to whatever news program you're listening to, I want you to learn to listen for stuff like this, because it's misleading, right? And at least you'll know when you hear it, wait a minute, that's not the same thing, because it's not, all right? And if Harry, for instance, conducted the most accurate poll in 2024, he'd be able to say this stuff with more authority, but he didn't. He's a poll watcher. All right. So let me correct him in a second, but this is what everybody's focusing on. But I'm telling you, this group is not all men. They're not all men. Are they more male? Sure, but they're not. All right, let's play it.
Donald Trump and Republicans won in 2024 because of support from male voters. The only way they can win, given the gender gap in this country, is support from male voters. And male voters are abandoning Donald Trump. Take a look here. This gives the game.
Wait, before he goes any further, which we'll do. Yes, Republicans win on the backs of men, but it doesn't mean you throw out what's going on with women if he does better with women. The reason Donald Trump did better with educated suburban women, oh my God, yes, he did, is because he brought out low proposition educated voters, low propensity educated voters. And Republicans just simply can't do that. So this group of women that comes out is going to be like a 30-point margin for Democrats unless you're Donald Trump. And again, I really can't say. Why am I going over this? Because we have to talk about who he's lost and who they failed to bring into their coalition. Their entire job, I've said this a million times, but repetition is key. Their entire job after the 24 election was to convince his coalition to vote for them. That was their entire job and nothing more. That should have been their number one priority. Otherwise, you'll end up like Mike Rogers, doing worse than Donald Trump in the bougie of bougie counties like Oakland. How did Trump do better than Mike Rogers in Oakland County? They had to do this and they failed to do it. So when we ask, can they make a comeback? I'm telling you what they need to do that. And it's going to be basically impossible if these voters aren't with Trump anymore. How could they convince them to vote for them if they wouldn't even vote for Donald Trump at this point? All right, this is where we're at. All right, get back to it. I just don't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like, yes, obviously men are a bigger part of the Republican coalition, but maybe you can't win Nevada without doing as well among women as Donald Trump did. Maybe you can't kind of comfortably win Michigan if you don't do better as good with women like Donald Trump did. It's a big deal because going into 24, when we were looking at some of these numbers, I had to show you that we had to go back to the 1988 presidential election to see margins with women like we saw in the polling leading into 24. Like, yes, the Republican was winning men overall, but those, when we would poll and find like Harris +2, Harris +4 among women, you got to go back to 1988 to see that again. And of course, there are overlapping groups there. It's because he did better with younger women. It's because he did better with Hispanic women. It's because he did better with Black women. It wasn't only men. All right. As important as they are.
Away. Okay, Trump standing with men. In November of 2024, he beat Kamala Harris among them by 13 points. Look at where he is now on his net approval rating. Down he goes. It's a 20-point shift away from Donald Trump. He is now 7 points underwater at this particular point among men. I think it is very difficult for Republicans to do well in this midterm cycle if Donald Trump is underwater with men. As my uncle once wrote, where the boys are, where the men are, they are underwater when it comes to Donald Trump.
Okay, so that's overall men, but what about young men who were really influential?
Yes, young men. Of course, there was a massive shift to Donald Trump from 2020 to 2024 among young men. And look right here. Whoa! Yikes. Men under the age of 25 on Trump.
What's he doing wrong? What's he doing wrong right now? What is he doing that is not accurate, is not correct? He's comparing Donald Trump's vote share with a group with his approval rating now. Vote share and approval rating are not the same things. In that poll that almost pegged the popular vote identical that we did, Donald Trump's retrospective approval rating was actually about 7 points. So about 5.5 points more than his lead over Kamala Harris. Back in the day, presidents used to run a little bit stronger than their approval rating. George Bush went into the 2004 election in many polls with like a 49% approval rating. He got a little over 50% of the vote, and he beat John Kerry, right? I think it was like a 3.5 point popular vote win, something like that. I'd have to go back and look to make sure. But bottom line is, we used to see presidents outrun their approval rating a little bit. Donald Trump has always been a little bit different. In 2016, there were a ton of people who would vote for him. He would outrun his approval rating quite a bit. There was, a bunch of people who would vote for him, even though they didn't particularly like him. And when you asked approval, something throughout time changed with how, and there's been a ton of conversation and debate about why this is. But over time, voters began to take that question a little bit different. Like, do you like him? We have a favorable view of him, right? Even though those are totally different questions, but that's what we've seen. And so Donald Trump used to outrun his approval a lot, beyond what we would see with other candidates. That's different now, and it's been different for a while. All right. And Joe Biden, we started saying it's a difference in the perception with what people think when you ask them. Generally speaking, do you approve or disapprove of the job so-and-so is doing as president? What they think you're really asking is, do you like this person? And that's not really the case. All right. So let's just keep going. But again, he's comparing apples to oranges here. That's the important thing to understand. Is he wrong about men? No. But if we were to go back, as we have in the past, and we showed you what approval was with certain individuals and certain groups on November 3rd, on the day we released the very final national poll, you would see it's different than the vote share. And that's just the truth. So when people say, Donald Trump said 52% approve in this new weird poll that has no potential to even be an outlier because it's 3 times outside of the consensus, right? Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean he's doing better than he was doing or more popular than he was going into the 24 election. His approval rating was about 52% retrospective going into the 24 election. All right, let's finish this.
Won him in 2024 by 5 points. Look where he is now. The net approval rating way down there. Down we go to negative 19 points. That's nearly, what is that? Nearly a 25-point switcheroo against the president of the United States when it comes to men under the age of 45. Those men that had switched their allegiances over to the Republican Party are seeing what the president is doing. They don't like what the president is doing, and they have very much soured on the president of the United States, men under the age of 45.
What is it specifically that they don't like? What issues have caused them to sour on President Trump?
I think there are a lot of issues that have caused them to sour on President Trump, but one in particular, we've spoken about it over and over and over again. It's the cost of living. Yep. It's inflation. Look at this. Okay, men on Trump and the cost of living. In October of 2024, look at this.
All right, keep this in mind, because when we go back to the question of whether Republicans can even make a comeback, we're going to talk about this. All right, because there is this idea in Republican circles specifically that if the economy just turns around, everything is going to be just fine. And the only reason why Donald Trump is taking a dive right now is nothing to do with Epstein, nothing to do with the war, nothing to do with this. It's the economy. Okay, we're going to look at that. But number two, there's a difference between cost of living and the economy. Those are really different. Is inflation an economic issue? Of course. But it's not the same. All right. And it's why? Because perception. It's about perception, right? You can throw economic indicators in people's faces all day, every month. Look at the jobs growth. Look at this. Look at that. But if they don't feel it in their cost of living, it won't matter. And because we have this huge disparity between economic data, or we did anyway, now it's all coming apart anyway, it doesn't matter. But we have this huge disparity in economic data versus like how people felt and whether they could afford things like healthcare or their rent or their mortgage or their cars or groceries or whatever it may be. All right. So healthcare, by the way, is a part of cost of living. So there's this idea with Republicans, and it's something that dates back to last year. I'll tell you, when I was at the White House, there was this view, well, what would you have us do? Because just to let you know, and I mean, multiple people said this, just to let you know, next year, the big, beautiful bill's going to kick in. And all of these great provisions kick in. And when they do, man, the economy is going to take off. And there's going to be so much for the average person that they're going to see that they just don't realize we did for them yet. And I told them, you sound like Joe Biden. You sound like Joe Biden. Much of this was like the optics of it. And the Biden administration would say things like, well, you know, they just don't know what we did for them yet, but give them some time. If a voter doesn't see it, it's you. It's not them. And it doesn't even, it's like the customer's always right. You can't tell the customer they're wrong. It's just stupid, number one. And number two, it almost certainly means you were wrong. All right. So they think there's like this debate or something. And now, in any way, it doesn't matter because they started a war and stepped on everything anyway. All right, so I'm jumping a little bit ahead. Let me get this out of the way.
Trump was trusted more than Kamala Harris by 10 points on this issue. Now we've got a 40-point switcheroo in the other direction. Look at this. His net approval rating on the cost of living among men is underwater by 30 percentage points. You see this. There is no way in God's green earth that the Republican Party can hold on to the House of Representatives if this number holds. When you're 30 points underwater with the gender that, of course, puts you over the top in the election on the cost of living, the number one issue, that means see you later to that Republican House majority and maybe that Senate majority as well.
Ooh, wow. And maybe that Senate majority as well. You remember last year when I told you the Senate majority was at risk and all of these stupid wannabes didn't think that was possible at all? Now here we are. If you said that last year, you were a panicking, right? Don't hate because I see the future that you can't even comprehend of at this point. All right. Don't hate on me because you don't have those talents. Probably because you don't have the skills and you don't actually do the job. See, a big part of this job is doing the job, not just looking at other people who do it. Take 6 hours almost of your day every day and either interview people or review interviews that have been done with people, and then come and talk to me and offer me your opinion. Until then, I'm really not interested. You're going to be wrong and you're going to look stupid. All right. But the problem, I said this the other day to locals community, the problem that shills always have is that there's an expiration date. It's called election day. You just can't keep it up forever. All right, real quick before we move on to some of the other things, before we start to get into this actual question, I just want to correct and say, we're not the Quinnipiac poll, okay? We're not. We don't think Trump has fallen that much with men. The problem is he doesn't have to fall that much with men. And still, when we talk about young men, it's not catastrophic in our polling the way it has been with others. It's just that you can't afford to lose that much. And that's where most of his support was coming from. He won young men, all right? And he would not win them now. It's still very close with his approval rating. But like we said, when it comes to Donald Trump, his approval in recent years has actually outpaced his vote share, and certainly outpaced the vote share that he is capable of superimposing onto other Republican candidates. And we know that because they underperformed him everywhere. All right. Everywhere it matters. He just brought one up. Mike Rogers, Eric Hovda. What's his name? I can't even remember in Nevada, where they're going to run again. On and on and on and on. All right. But real quick, just to show you, we are not like that when it comes to men. Here's Donald Trump's approval. Sex, age detail, sex by age, race by sex, party by sex, education by sex, education by race, evangelicals by race, U.S. born, non-U.S. born. I mean, there's so much you can do in this poll, guys, if you want. If there's another nested variable that you basically are requesting, hit me up and I'd be happy, as long as it's something that's like normal and has a sufficient sample size. I'd be happy to put it up there. Former America First, former MAGA independents, like you'll start to see other pollsters copy us, but they have to have a large enough sample size to really be able to do that. All right. So real quick, with men in general, we still do have men about even for Donald Trump. Women which is bad. Even is not good. We had Donald Trump extremely positive with men, not only at his high, but when he went into the election in 24. Women are an absolute catastrophe. The biggest swing that we have seen for any group is actually females 18 to 29 years old. Is a Republican going to win them? No, but you can't get your ass kicked this badly with this group. And here's the problem. Here's men right here. As you can see, if we look at by age, men 18 to 29, he's only slightly negative still. It's just that he was doing so well with them. It's women 18 to 29. He's just getting murdered. 29% to what's that? 65, 66. I mean, 66% disapproval, 2/3 disapproval. That kind of stuff matters, because there is a statistical significance about 50%. There's an even greater one when we start to talk about super majorities. And when we get to numbers like that, it's like, what must you do in order to win them back? Guys, it's like, forget it. It's barring some huge event, it's really difficult. Here's one thing real quick I just want to point. We haven't had Donald Trump's strong approve rating among Republicans above 50% for a long time. You may notice it went up, and you may think that's a good thing. But again, the problem is 52% of a smaller group that has fallen by 10%. The hit that they took this month was a 10% hit. Not that they fell from 43 to 33. They lost 10% of their overall identification, roughly. Okay. And that's a huge hit. You may say, oh, that's only like 3.3%, Rich, or at that time it was 36.3%. Or 37, 3.6 or 3.7. That's a massive hit to a coalition. Massive. It sounds small, but it's not. So again, what does this mean? This is purification through subtraction. The numbers are going up because that group is shrinking, and you are left with only the core true. I don't even want to say believers. Yes, some of them are true believers, but I mean, you're starting to get into like sycophancy territory. There was a good episode earlier this week on Megyn Kelly. oh crap, I'm forgetting his name, but he's absolutely correct. Even when George Bush's approval rating fell to like 30%, you still had the lion's share of who the Republicans that were left still saying that they approved of him, right? That doesn't mean anything. That is not a good thing. This is a game of addition. This is not a game of subtraction. So maybe these idiots should have thought a lot longer and smarter about the strategy of trying to purify the black pillars and purify every single dissident that had something to say. I mean, now you want to call and you want to ask what can be done about it. Like I said, at my own expense, on multiple occasions, came to you to tell you what to do about it. You chose not to do it. And furthermore, you did the one thing I said you absolutely cannot do. So what do you want? A magic? You want a spell now? You want me to cast a spell for you? You want me to get my fucking cauldron? Start mixing up some herbs? Maybe put a stupid spell on the electorate? You should have listened while there was time to listen. Now, barring some major event, these numbers are going to be extremely, damn near impossible to overdo. All right, this is what I did want to show you, though. Even though we have this with Trump, unlike other polls, and I think we're right, problem is Republicans are very much underperforming Donald Trump, even still with these groups. With men, 4 or 5 points. With young men, a few points here and there. Look at, by the way, let's look at 18 to 29-year-old men. There they are. They still are okay with Donald Trump as far as like, they're not 20 points negative. All right. They're not what they were, but they're not, he's lost a lot. I think it's like net 15-point swing or something like that. I can go look it up in a second. But Republicans are losing them. They're losing them to Democrats. In fact, Republicans aren't winning a single age group. And here's where we got to get into the crux of it all. Over the years, we have seen seniors shift more to the Democratic Party. They have trended more Democratic. The baby boomers, the cultural revolution generation, right? And they're a complicated generation to be sure, but they're the birth of the professional class. They're the ones who are, we had a great conversation about this in book club on Locals. You should join book club. If you're not on Locals, get on Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. We're reading A Demon of Our Own Design right now, which is fantastic and relevant when it comes to some of the financial stuff we're almost certainly going to be dealing with in the very near future. And next, we'll be reading the Israel Lobby. We've read a ton of great seminal works. And we had this great conversation about the difference in the baby boomer generation and effectively what's left for Trump and Republicans in the baby boomer generation are the baby boomers who didn't protest the war, the baby boomers who carried what weight there was to be carried by boomers from this generation on their shoulders. And they went to work and they kept America going. They're now Fox News viewers, and they do not want at all to look at the world the way that Trump looked, or at least looked past at the world. Institutions like the FBI and the military, they don't want to hear about abuses and failing and the military doing stupid shit. Like, I don't know, my buddy Pete Hegseth deciding he's just going to prosecute the war like it's shock and awe all over again, only with these cute AI gadgets, and then wonder why the hell we can't beat Iran. I mean, that's another episode. Whether or not we're winning, which we are not, is another episode. But that's what's left for Republicans. They've been trending more to the left. They've been trending more Democratic because as those boomers age into the 65 plus, which they've long done now, the first boomers will turn 80 this year, I believe. I just looked this up for the book. They're getting to be the dominant, senior group. And they'll phase out quickly, very, very soon. They will start and begin to drop out. What do I mean? That's my nice way of saying in the near future. Okay, guys, like 4 years, 2, 4, 6 years is not far away. They will begin to phase out of the electorate. They'll begin to die at very fast. It will happen quickly. and it will change the electorate very, very quickly. It will leave Republicans without a coalition because this is all they have left of that vote, of that boomer generation. And even still, USA Today did I hate to say it, they did a very good article about this. I think it was a month and a half ago, about how boomer women, seniors, they're up for grabs. They're a swing vote now. That wasn't always the case. 10 years ago, the 65 plus female was not up for grabs. That was a Republican vote. It's not the case anymore. Even though 10 years ago, we did see that weakening in the Republicans' grip on that age demographic. So millennials, they grow up, that's me. They get to be the middle of the electorate, the middle age buckets of the electorate. And Republicans needed a younger, less white, more diverse coalition to be a national political force. In midterms, you're still going to see seniors and more educated voters vote at higher rates. And here's the double whammy and makes it more ridiculous. All these idiots are like, well, of course they're going to pander to boomers. It's a midterm. Dummies. Educated boomers will vote at higher rates. Donald Trump actually did 1 point worse among this voting group in 24 than he did in 2020. And yet he won the election easier. Bottom line is that the Republicans don't understand that demographics change over time, that age buckets do not stay filled with the same people over time. Today's 30 to 44, 15 years from now, will look very different than their 30 to 44-year-old age bucket. And seniors, oh boy, will look even more so. So Republicans didn't understand, they didn't comprehend how the changing electorate and the realignment, which they didn't complete. So Democrats did, and they're left with an incomplete realignment against Democrats who did complete their realignment with a smaller coalition. But if they win back those swing voters and put them on top of their smaller coalition, Republicans will get destroyed. It shouldn't be very difficult for people to understand, but apparently there's a lot of people online who just aren't capable of this math. It's not difficult. It's just that they can't understand or comprehend that today's 65 plus was not the 65 plus of 2010. And it certainly will not be the 65 plus of 2032 or 2030 or 2028. They will be dramatically different. And that acceleration is going to speed up. So what did Republicans need to do, even if they were in a good electoral environment, which they are not? They needed to change the electorate. It is why I stressed, even on election night, how many shows? We did our own show, then we went on Solomon, we went on Bannon, we went on this one, we went on that one. What did I tell all of these people? Starting right now, you have got to take those voters who are flirting with you. They voted for Trump. You weren't even dating them, let alone being married to them. They weren't even dating you. They were flirting. Right. They weren't even sure they wanted to be seen with you yet. They were flirting with you. And your number one job, because you needed them so badly, was to bring that relationship along. I didn't romance them. And you had, bottom line, and you had to make yourself look more like Donald Trump and not make Trump look more like you. So the Bush neocon takeover of the Republican Party was basically the worst possible thing that could happen to them. You cannot just rely on the economy getting better, because the economy getting better will help without a doubt. It will help, but it will help only with those swing voters that USA Today profiled, for instance, and they're older, and that's great. That'll help you counter how the educated boomers are going to vote against you anyway. But it's not going to be enough. And we already started to see that with the 18 and the 22 midterms. In November of 2018, the economy was rip-roaring. It was red hot. And it wasn't enough. Why? It was a betrayal year, like this year is. Republicans ignored the number one issue, and they failed to deliver on a promise that they had made for many, many years, to repeal and replace Obamacare. Healthcare did them in. That was the primary reason they were done in. And there was a secondary reason that cost them some Republican female votes. And that was the Russia collusion hoax. And it was isolated where it really mattered. Like Harley Ruda certainly capitalized on that against Dana Rohrabacher in the Orange County district that he used to represent. He capitalized on that. Michael Bloomberg spent millions of dollars pushing the collusion hoax. We pulled that race for them. We saw it. It worked. It worked just enough. And there was about 50,000 Republican voters who were left so confused. They were like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to show up. And they didn't. Oh, and by the way, Fox News called the race before voting was even done. So that couldn't have helped. Fox News now, who cheerleaded Trump into the dumbest thing he could possibly have done, which was start a war, which is what? A betrayal. Now, you may not think so if you're a Trump sycophant, but guess what? Trump's entire 24 coalition was not filled with sycophants like you. You are the minority. And it's a shrinking minority at this point, in case you're not paying attention. Yeah, I'm going to get there. We need to look at who makes up these people who say, yes, it's me. That's me. I'm one of them. And I no longer identify as MAGA. We definitely need to look them up. Okay, let me get rid of them so I can start to bring some of that up. Because we can look at the demographics of them. And I mean, they're almost all Trump voters. So that's how you know they're telling the truth. And I mean like almost all. There could have been new MAGA was brought about after Donald Trump won the election, which certainly was a thing, which is how we got to plus 18% approval which is, if you would have told me that in 2016, and I pulled that race correctly, but if you would have told me that Trump could ever get that high in 2016, I would have just laughed at you and be like, no, we don't live in that world. Sorry, that's not going to happen. But it did happen. So, there was an opportunity there, and it was an opportunity that's been blown. All right, here's race. I'm just putting, you know what? I'll show that to you in a second. All right. First, before we bring this up, let me just make sure you guys understand what I'm saying here. Republicans are down in every single age group, helping with, if the economy were to come back rip roaring, I think it would help with the 30 to 44-year-olds. It'll help marginally with the 45 to 64. It will really help with those like more persuadable women who are in the 65 plus, would tighten that margin, which they have to do. They cannot lose seniors 52-41, and which they're about to lose. Look, they are the least undecided group. So you would need the economy to literally change their mind. All right. But then again, you can't win with just that age group. It's not enough, unfortunately. Even when we lean them, you can see with the 60, I want to show you this. When we lean them, you can see that they both gain about 2 points in the 65 plus category among those who lean, hiccups. The 45 to 64 Republicans just can't pull. They need that group. That is their core group. They need that group, and they're losing it, and they just can't pull the trigger on this. They can't close the deals, really the expression I'm looking for. And 10%, the screen isn't that tight right now. When we get to the election, that 10% will just come out of the screen. Those people just in the end, 8 out of 10 of them won't vote. That is what will happen, and they'll lose all of that, and they definitely need them. The 30 to 44 isn't horrible. Honestly, that's not horrible. But if you're Republicans in a midterm like this, you want to carry them, and you're just getting blown away by the 18 to 29-year-olds. Again, the vast majority of that 20%, someone else third-party vote, will just not vote, and we'll wind up seeing a margin of like 65-35, maybe 70-30. That's how bad Republicans are on track to lose young voters. And that means it's all the more margin you have to squeeze out of the senior or the 45 to 64, which you're not squeezing out. And these people, the economy would help, but it is not enough. It's just not. And you can frankly, hold on. Before I bring up that other crosstab real quick, I made the chart, I got to stop calling it this. We'll just call it what we call it now, which is job approval rating trend by key events. We called it the TART chart affectionately at first. We didn't want to offend anybody, but it's because you can't look at this chart and see anything else. So for the people who have the argument that it's the economy and that's the only reason why Trump is losing, support like this, you're not paying attention. All right. First of all, again, you have to understand all polls are not created equal. We have done nothing different since we pegged the popular vote more than anybody else. He's losing because of a series of events, that it's not one thing, and it's not just the economy. You can actually see Donald Trump's approval rating fall and go negative at periods of time when inflation was crashing. There was actually a lot of positive economic news. In that switchover period right there, we actually had a reading of negative inflation. It didn't happen. All right. And another thing you need to understand is that even if the economy was to turn around right now, perception or sentiment can take some time. It's not always the case that people will start to report or reflect a sentiment that is supposedly present in the economic indicators that are released every month. That they could come out, and the Bureau of Economic Analysis can talk about how great GDP is, and they can, the Bureau of Labor Statistics can come out and talk about how booming job growth suddenly is, right? Or the ADP jobs report can talk about private sector jobs booming. It may not sink in. George Herbert Walker Bush lost in 92, even though the economy was already recovering. By the time Barack Obama kicked the dog snot, there you go, Laura, out of John McCain, we were coming out of the worst of it already. It takes time. You can't just say, oh, by the way, Donald Trump himself, when he lost in 2020, the economy was already, in most of these indicators, were already in V-shaped recovery territory. I think we recovered half the construction jobs we lost during the COVID lockdown in the first month or month and a half of Trump reopening the economy. It took time, and there are things that people just didn't feel like they could afford yet. Right? So this idea there's just going to be this magic bullet and all we need is a couple of GDP reports is ridiculous. And it's wrong, and you'll lose anyway. Right? This is a series of events that happened that were like, I call it like a two-piece to the chin of MAGA, right? You had Trump hit his all-time high approval rating here. This is when the Gaza ceasefire begins to end, okay? And he starts getting lobbied by all these foreign groups, and Bibi and his handlers are all over. And you could see it. Trump gets distracted. Elon Musk gets pushed out of the White House. All the stuff that he was doing that was giving him 60% approval rating with 18 to 29, just fell apart. And it starts to wear on him. He barely gets the BBB through. We're not even there yet. He's still fighting for it. Anyway, here we go. Trump bombs Iran here. He says, post make Iran great again on True Social, which of course was a thumb to the eye. There's something different about Donald Trump. He has used to have a reverence for the voter, an open reverence. And now I sense almost like an open disdain for some of his base or some of his voting coalition. He just feels like, I don't have to answer myself to you anymore. And that was not the Donald Trump that served as president in the first administration. He did answer to them constantly. He was on Twitter looking at the feedback. He was making sure he was listening to his favorite program hosts, all of that, even though he got much better at understanding the power of the podcast circuit in 24, thanks to Barron. He just has this disdain for these people now that we did not see before. And you could see it in some of his actions, right? Here's Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They have a fallout over the BBB as we get closer. He needed to bomb Iran in order for Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham to sign on and not shut up, despite the fact that people denied that. That absolutely is true. It happened. All right. Epstein issue starts to blow up in his face. He lashes out at his voters again. I don't want their support anymore. In between, a little later than that, by the way, he'll say something like, there's no talent here in America for over H-1B visas, which I should probably add to this chart. I mean, these are big things. People don't think they are, but they are. They're huge. This is what we hear about these things from the people who are leaving the coalition. Yes, the economy is a big deal, but it's more like, hey, he's too busy effing around with Israel and protecting the Epstein class, and he's not doing enough for us at home. A great example was the woman, guys, that we read you from Pennsylvania. She was like, you know what? Are you kidding me? Like, you really seriously asking me why I don't support him anymore? He said he wasn't going to be any new wars. Like, I told my family this. Now I'm unemployed. I look like an idiot. He's off making wars in Iran. He doesn't give two shits about this or that or the other. Like, it's bad. That's how they respond. Anyway, here, my buddy Charlie, our friend Charlie, is murdered. Nothing happens, right? Frustration builds up. And you can see when he starts to get the government shutdown ends, which helps, right? And he starts to talk like he's going to pivot back to the domestic. It always looks like it's going to get better. After the State of the Union speech, he had a bump. And by the way, we should put that in there. We should put what was it? I'd have to go back and look, but he did get a bump. I shared it with Andrew Colvin at TPUSA. He knows. It was a nice bump. It was like the 46, 47%. And then he and then he launches this war against Iran and he fucks everything up. And here we are now. I mean, it's very, very obvious. So while people want to scapegoat, it's just the economy. You're not understanding how people perceive it. You're just not. It's their perception that he's too distracted and he's not caring at all or prioritizing the needs that they care about. And I mean, it's very obvious when we started this White House focus tracker, you can see it track very clearly that and all of this matters because there's just no way Republicans are going to wind up winning voters back if they don't trust Trump. That Harry Enten is right about. Because so many of these voters wouldn't vote for a Republican ever. They only do it to support Trump. And if they don't anymore, there's just no chance Republicans are getting them. There's just none. Look at the White House focus tracker. I kind of expected this to happen this month. Too focused on foreign affairs, not enough on domestic. Too focused on domestic, not enough on foreign affairs. Their focus has been balanced and just about right. By the way, CBS News, Barry over at CBS News, if you're going to steal someone's idea, a citation would be nice. I don't even care if it says, you know what? This has been tracked by Big Data Poll for a year now. They came up with this, and here's what CBS found. Like you used to have to do when you would steal Gallup's trackers. Don't just pretend like you made it up and it's an original thought. We know you're not capable of those, and a citation would be nice. And you're not even asking it correctly, by the way. If you're going to rip off the damn question, rip it off verbatim. Don't leave stuff out because you think it's going to help you. 62% too focused on foreign affairs. This took longer than I thought. I thought as soon as the war was launched, this thing was going to spike. It did rise. We could see it rising. But beyond like the 56 a lot, it would go up to like 58, maybe 59, come down again. But in the benchmark poll that we released, it's been above 60 now for like a week and a half to almost 2 weeks. We'll see how long it stays at these levels. All right. So there's that. All right. I don't know how much. There's no point to return to the chart on the president's approval rating. We're now 30. We're almost a month into this war. It hurt. It hurt bad. And it will work against this entire strategy that they had, that the economy would suddenly blow up. And when it did, then it would, fix everything. It's going to fix everything, and it's going to change it's going to change the entire electoral environment. In order for that to happen now, because it's like, honestly, it's 12:55 already. It's at some point here, I'm going to have to give a percentage and put a percentage on it for you guys. Let me give you, in case you'd never heard me say this before, take yourself back to the November before Christmas of last year. At that point, it was already a little over a 70% chance that the current leader of the generic ballot would go on to win the national popular vote for the House of Representatives. All right, that's the modern era. So when people say things like, it's still early. I mean, it's true, but not really. When looking at psephology, it's really not. There are examples of when people were able to buck the history, but the fact of the matter is you were already heavily an underdog. And judging by the lead on the generic ballot at the time and the state polling we were doing, it was obvious that the Senate was also going to be in danger if they persisted on continuing down this path, if they insisted on continuing down the path that they continued down. And they did. All right. So it was obvious back then that this would not be a good electoral environment for Republicans unless the Trump administration led a dramatic turnaround. Robert's poll for the 1776 project that he commissioned us to do was a blueprint. And they didn't take any of that. Not only did they not take it, there will be all of these stories about corruption and antitrust. I don't have to get into it. It's like not only in many of these cases, many of these things that they needed to tackle, it's not only that they didn't do it, they did the opposite of what they needed to do. So it's like, okay, maybe you're not going to take this stuff on, but do me a favor and don't cause any harm, right? Just leave it kind of neutral. They didn't even do that. They caused harm. And it will get worse as we go on. All right. So again, in 2018, the economy was red hot. It wasn't enough. Okay. In 22, very much for the same reason that the economy alone would not be enough for Republicans to turn this around, this year is very much the same reason why in 22, a bad economy wasn't enough for a total wipeout for Democrats. It's the realignment. It's who's going to vote. And we don't have to go back to go through all. That's why we went over the age specifically for you, because even though they went into a bad political environment, their higher proposition voters were a buttress against a complete tsunami. They were able to stymie Republican gains. All right. I'm putting that in my pocket in case you guys hear that buzzing. And that was with a map that was more favorable to Republicans than the map that we will have this year. That's the House, which Senate won't have any impact on that. But when it comes to the House, it will. Republicans were going to have to outperform even their recent best years in order to keep their majorities, especially in the House. They started a redistricting war that completely backfired. They're losing. Even if the Voting Rights Act was to be decided this Monday, let's say the Supreme Court just shocked everybody and didn't come out with it early summer. Well, there are primaries around the corner. There are primaries that are already done. There are donors who already funded certain super PACs. They're not going to start rewriting districts over a Supreme Court decision. They're just not. Will some do it? Sure. Will they all? No, definitely not. If it comes early summer, no way. There's just no chance. Minimal. The impact will be minimal. It's not enough. And by the way, if Republicans do terrible in November, guess who will be the ones to rewrite those maps? Right. The more Democratic state legislatures. So it's just Republicans really, they shot themselves in the ass. I mean, my question to them is, since I did that video, where do your loyalties lie? Was it worth it? Because the administration has been completely consumed by this for a year now. Was it worth it? You haven't even freed the people of Iran. Yet the lobbying for a war that has been going on for the last 30 or so days has really been distracting the White House for the better part of a year, consume the agenda, which I told you would happen. You can't walk and chew gum in DC at the same time. You can't. It never works that way. So Republicans needed to take, as Democrats did, they needed to overperform. They needed to change the electorate the way that Democrats changed it in 18 in order to overcome their structural disadvantage in that map. Democrats literally changed the electorate. They got groups of voters that don't vote in midterms to vote in midterms, and they changed the electorate and overcame the structural disadvantages of the way that, it's just, redistricting. How Republicans drew the maps. They had an advantage still in 18. Come 22, some of that was already diluted, but not quite. It was the result of the realignment. So the obvious response by Republicans after winning with the coalition they did in 24, there's an obvious path forward. One that allows you to keep the House, one that allows you to easily keep the Senate. Actually, you could have added Senate seats. But these people in the new coalition that everyone seems to be totally happy, telling them to go F themselves. I don't need your support anymore. This one's a this one's a that. We got to purge it, like Ben Shapiro and his purging ideas, right? Like these people would have any idea how to win elections. They're professional losers when it comes to politics. Was it worth it? Was their pet project worth it? Because it's going to cost you 10 years of power now. That's the reality. Without fail, because we can go through the stats of the generic ballot and start to, outside of the war, factor in probabilities. It's March. It's the spring before the election. The current leader on the generic ballot at this point has roughly a 9 in 10 chance to win the House vote. It's just sad. It did not have to be that way. Add a war to that, I don't think there is a probability you can factor in. I just don't. There has to be some massive event that's totally out of the control of the Republican Party that helps them. Because without fail, in the modern era, without fail, the incumbent party that starts an unpopular war gets their ass kicked. What's the percentage? 100%. Bush, let me put it this way. Even popular wars, popular military conflicts can result in failure anyway, as Barnes and I have detailed in countless freaking episodes now. We're not going to go over it. The Gulf War. 9/11. And remember, at that time, national security and terrorism was the number one issue. 1 and 2. It's not even close. Foreign policy is not even on the map. It's number 8 right now on ranked distribution. Foreign policy is number 8. All of the top issues are domestic issues. It's just unbelievably true. It's just unbelievable. This was a choice, is what I'm trying to tell you. And now everyone wants to know what can be done to fix it. And I'm telling you, there was a point. And now I don't know that there is. All right, let's get to this, though, and look at this group, who makes up this group. And let me switch this real quick so it's easier for us to see here. Let me close the editor. Okay. All right. So of the nearly, 1,000, just under 900 independents, I believe it's 16%. In the sample. It's ranged from about 15 to a high of 20% who would say of the independents that, yes, I did previously identify with America First and or MAGA and now no longer do. Obviously, this is overall independent identification, so don't get too taken aback by that. You can see Republicans are last, dead last. When it comes to independent identification, very simply, would you say your views are more closely aligned to the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, equally close to the Republican and Democratic Party, or share little in common with either? Share little in common with either is, again, number 1, but you may notice 30% of 30% is more than 30% of 26%. The percentage change isn't the only thing that's important. People are unbelievable. The criticisms just keep getting dumber and dumber and dumber. I can't even call them counter arguments because they're not smart enough to consider themselves to be counter arguments. They're just retards looking for wishful thinking. And I'm sorry to use that R word. I know some people have asked me nicely not to use it. It's just shill wishful thinking, okay? But it's not even so much shill, because you can be a shill and not still be stupid. Oh, there it is right there. Duh, I already put it on the table. Yeah, 16% said that they were. You can see that it is more male by percentage than female. However, this group is more female overall, so it doesn't matter. 15% of females is more in total people, and so it would be in total votes. This is why I was taking an issue with what Harry Enton's segment was saying. It's still more actual votes than the 17% of the men. All right, you can see it is considered. Look at this. This should scare the bejesus out of you. They are much younger. MAGA, older MAGA, is funny. When you look at who's calling themselves MAGA now, it's older, it's whiter, it's smaller. And honestly, these people were calling themselves traditional Republicans a year ago. They're so full of shit. It's like Mark Levin now calls himself MAGA. Okay? You want me to explain it simple as I possibly can? Lindsey Graham now describes himself as MAGA. Mark Levin now describes himself as MAGA. Well, that's just great. It isn't MAGA. And as you can see, the age signal is clear as day. The younger you get, the higher percentage of this group, what we'll call former America First and MAGA. Former MAGA. Previous MAGA. That's actually what we should have called it, not former. We should have called it previous MAGA. Yeah, because that's what a lot of the vendors, voter files, it's like, if you're looking for people who are previously registered Republican, it's always like previous Republican. Yeah, I'm changing that. We're going to change that. I like previous better than former. I like to keep things pretty uniform. In case nobody's noticed, I'm a little OCD like that. I like to keep stuff uniform. But just looking at this group, out of the, out of the total, what was it? What does 16%, 17% represent? 136. 18 to 29-year-olds are twice as many as 65s. You can see it. It's 10% among seniors or 65 plus, 13% among 45 to 64, 19% from 30 to 44, and 24% of 18 to 29. My God, I need to can somebody scare me or something? It's hard to do. Or give me a brown paper bag so I can breathe into it. That's how you kill hiccups, by the way. I don't know. Oh my God. Richest tip of the day. Richest tip of the day. This is how you cure hiccups. Hiccups are having too much oxygen attached to your hemoglobin. So if you huff in a paper bag, do not kill yourself. But if you increase your carbon and decrease your oxygen, you will cure hiccups. All right. All right. Back to it. But you can see this clear, right? I mean, do I really need to explain this anymore? It's very, very, very obvious. You can even see it in the age detail. 75 plus is 12. It's a little off. It's a small sample size. That's why. But 75, 9.3. Then it goes up again. 12.7, 17, 19, 24, 24.4. I mean, it goes up the younger you get. So that it's young. This former MAGA or previous MAGA is younger. It's also pretty less white than what MAGA is now. And I'll show you in a second. This actually, even though it's a small sample size and I don't want to read too much into the super seniors, it actually doesn't surprise me because some of the super seniors are more Trumpy than seniors overall, which again is part of this, that's a red flare, guys. I mean, that's great that super seniors are more Trumpy, but what does that mean? It means 65 plus is going to radically change as people die. All the more reason you need other parts of your coalition. You need these young people back. You need them back who don't identify with you anymore. Honestly, again, the focus on the men. Okay. Look at the women and men 18 to 29. Who would you rather have back more? The women. They're a larger share. I mean, you want them all, don't get me wrong. But the women, you can't ignore the females that you have lost in this coalition. It's disaster. And I might point out that Trump was nominated by women. Every damn time. Men always maybe Rubio, maybe Cruz, maybe this one, 24, maybe DeSantis, maybe Nikki Haley. It was the men who wavered. Contrary to the media narrative, which we discussed at the time and talked about over and over and over again. So it's crazy to me how people just don't get this. Look at which group has the largest, which racial group has the largest percentage of people who say that they are now independent and they previously identified as MAGA. Obviously, whites are the largest total as far as total numbers and actual whole numbers. Whites are the largest, so of course you want that 15% back. But which subgroup has the highest percentage? Because black and white, they're basically the same. It's Hispanics. A quarter of the Hispanics in this said yes, which is absolutely backed up by voting we've seen so far. So this is why I targeted Starr County and Hidalgo County and Zapata County when we looked at some of these primaries. Democrats weren't just getting 2024 turnout level. There were more Democratic votes cast in Starr County for a primary, total Democratic votes, Tallarico and Crockett together, of course. There were more total votes for those two candidates than voted for Kamala Harris in the actual general election. So it's not just that these voters are pissed and they're not voting. They're voting against you. They're voting against you. And actually, let's edit that. And I want to show you what most of them are doing on, say, the generic ballot. All right. So let's make a column. Let's take them, former AM first. We're going to need them. Now let's get the generic ballots, survey questions. Oh, let's look at the war with them too. That's important because, and they can't stand Israel, by the way. Can't stand Israel. Generic ballot leaners. Now, where is it? There it is. Generic ballot with leaners. And I have it in the other cross tab, so I guess I could just show it to you. Yeah, without making a new one. Let's just do it. Hold on one second. Where are you? Former AF MAGA. Yeah. Okay. U.S. military strikes against Iran. Well, I'm just putting this together. I'll show you this in a second. Let's do generic ballot with leaners first. Let's couple them together. Oh, I got to make this all over again. Okay, my bad. It is better and easier just to show you the other one. Share screen. Here we go. Okay, let's just put this up. Wow, sounds like an elephant, doesn't it? You guys hear that? Sounds like an elephant. It's a little man. It's a tiny little man. I hear him. He's home. It's half day. Spring break starts today. All right, so let's do military strikes against Iran, for instance. MAGA independents oppose it more than roughly about the same as all independents, but more than the public overall. 27% support. That's it. So they left for other reasons. The majority are leaving because, and I would tell you, it's like a series of things. 1-2 punch, Epstein bombing Iran. Now we're in a war with Iran. All the while, they completely ignored what they told them they were going to fix. All right. And don't tell me they didn't. The White House schedule, they took down a lot of it because it was so obvious. It's been dominated by Iran since the friggin' spring of last year. It's tragic, but it's true. Let's look at how they're voting on the generic ballot with leaners. About a quarter of them, 23.5, say someone else third party, they are going to vote Republican. I don't think 32% will vote Democratic. Maybe they will. Maybe they're that pissed. Maybe they will, guys. I don't know. I think a lot of them will just end up not voting. And as we get closer to the election, this will be something that we'll have to keep an eye on because I think a lot like these people right here are saying they're going to vote third party. Same thing with the independents who aren't, they're just not going to vote. But you do have to understand that the MAGA independents were a little bit more, they're a more higher participation group, at least in recent years, that they may go back to being nothing again, which I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do that. Here, one second. All right. Look at the importance of staying out of wars. Look at that. Folks, just about 50% said very important. That's higher than independents overall. That's higher than everybody overall, by the way. Another 35 say it's important, somewhat important. So you're looking at like 85%. It's disgusting. Only 2.6% are even undecided about it. What does that mean? It means it's a very important issue to them. When you have less than 3% being undecided about something like that, it means it matters to them. It's important. Which party do you trust more to stay out of wars now? Any day, Hooks. Come on. It's because I have an update on Google. It's going to be a pain in the ass. Come on. Let's go. I'm going to have to refresh it totally, guys. Yep. I'm going to have to refresh it totally. Oh, for the love of God. X. Here we go. Here. We're just crashing now. If some wise ass decide they want to crash it, let's just get rid of the tab. Start it over. Hello. It's cooked. It's cooked. Oh, it's starting to spin though. Come on, get out of here. All right, hold on. Let me take it down. All right. Maybe that's part of it. Hold on one second. Come on. Get off. There we go. Pull it back up. Let me go back to it. Let me go to my email. Damn, both went to the email. I can show mine, I guess. Oh, look, Decision Desk put out the poll. Is that a town hall? Oh, they put it out. They published. That's cool. I got an email about my own poll. It's kind of funny. Where is... I know I shared it with myself. I know I did. Did I not? You're kidding me. Look at Decision Desk out today, by the way, just a few hours ago. The independent surge. Right. That's what matters. That's what should matter to you. That's what you should be considering. Not that, you know, even if it was 90%, not 90%. Who cares about 90% of a shrinking group of people agreeing? Gives a damn. Again, this is a game of addition, not subtraction. All right, let me just share this one. Hopefully this doesn't shit out on me. You guys are going to get to see my side of things, but whatever. I've showed that before. All right, let's go to them as a demographic. If you want to do this, that's what you're going to choose column, choose the former, or what I will rename soon as previous AF/MAGA independents, and then you'll be able to see it. Which party do you trust more to keep out of foreign wars? All right. This group says neither, 41%, and they're about even between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party now. This is an utter disaster. An utter disaster. Independents, the rest of independents, choose the Democrats by a 20-point margin, but still, they too say neither. They're just more undecided. This group, the former MAGA independents, they're not undecided. They're half as undecided as the rest of the independent sample. All right. So again, what does that tell you? It means a lot to them. It means a lot. All right. So that is a shame, because I'm telling you this question: who do you trust more to keep the U.S. out of foreign wars and military conflicts, or a version that other pollsters have asked over the years? We've asked it since 2016. Is extremely, highly predictive of the overall popular vote winner. Highly predictive. Donald Trump had the edge over Hillary Clinton in the Rust Belt in the Midwest. Even myself, to be honest, to be perfectly honest with you guys, did not understand the significance of it. By the time we got to 2020, it was the first sign that Trump was actually in trouble in some of these other states like Michigan and Minnesota, and it was close in Pennsylvania. In 24, Trump had the edge. This thing has been predictive for years, even before I was even ever a pollster. All right. And other pollsters have done this. All right, let's get this back up. So this is very bad. I mean, this is extreme. And by the way, all is not good too. Wait, whoops, sorry. Which party do you trust more? Forget about that. Let's just do all so you can get the actual number. 42-28 overall. That's bad, guys. That is bad. By the way, the Democrats had an 8-point, I believe it was, an 8-point advantage in February. So this thing is growing. And I mean, it indicates a wipeout. Like, this is wipeout territory. All right. Okay. Does Israel have too much influence? Yes. Half of America thinks Israel has too much influence. Look at MAGA independents. 56.2% say that Israel has too much influence. So, in a word, depends on how you characterize or ask them. But Patrick Basham and I were talking about this question. He then went and polled it and said, all right, I just want all the MAGA, but he mixed them all together and he found about 50% overall, but he added this group into his MAGA Republicans. So like there's no difference, just MAGA, right? This is a problem. Israel's toxic, guys. If you look by age, Israel is toxic. Look at that. I mean, again, though, I did send this to the White House, by the way. I told them, you have an Israel problem. That's the bottom line. Like, you have a major Israel problem. Look at younger voters compared to everybody else. This is catastrophic. And the only reason why 65 to 74 is higher and about on par with 18 to 24 is, again, because the 65 to 74 is more liberal than the 75 plus, which is the Fox Boomer crop, right? This is bad. I mean, there's just no way to undo this at this point. I don't know the way out of this. I just don't. Has Trump, and this is where it's interesting. Like, you can even see it among these former people. They want to give Trump, they want to like Trump, and they want to support Trump. 75% of the rest of the independent sample says Trump did not sell this thing. He didn't sell it. He didn't clearly explain the goals and the reasons and goals for the U.S. taking military action against Iran. That's how this question particularly is worded. By the way, the regime change numbers specifically are even worse. But anyway, it's 50-50. 50.1 said no. 49.9 said yes among those former previous MAGA independents. They still want to like him. They still want to. It's just they're pissed. They're pissed. We already did this. And then if you do the White House tracker, you could see they're right on the national average. Other independents, however, are, 68% say that he's too focused on foreign policy. So that's more of an indication that while they're unhappy, they aren't trying to pile on him. They don't want to beat on him. They would like to like him. And then just one more time with the generic ballot. As you can see here, they are voting Republican. We had the road rage about this, guys. At the end of the day, it turned out being by a 13-point margin for Republicans, but that's just simply not good enough. They need to win them overwhelmingly. This is a huge vote for Democrats out of a group that believes and holds those beliefs. It's a huge vote for the Democratic Party because they're pissed. This is a protest vote. This is F you. If I do vote, I'm voting against you. I'm so mad. I'm voting against you. And you can mock them for it. And you can say whatever the hell you want to say. But to the people who are, pissed off, feeling betrayed, unhappy, whatever, you've been mocking them for a year. How's that working out for you? You just lost independence by like 40 points in Florida. How's that working out for you? It's not. So take your head out of your ass. Realize it's you, not them. And try to do something to mitigate the damage, at least. So at the end of the day, can Republicans fix this? These numbers are so bad, guys. It would take an event, I believe, is outside Republican control to fix it. Just having the economy come around is not going to be enough. You will get some of those women back in the senior category. Maybe you can tighten it. Hell, maybe you can even turn it around and you win seniors by, the same margin you won them by in 22. That's great. But you're going to lose everyone below by an even larger margin. So how's that going to look for you? And by the way, I'm being facetious. You're not getting to the senior margin you got in 22. It's not happening. It's just not. We have not seen Democrats perform this well with seniors in a very, I don't know if ever. I'm not sure I can ever say ever, honestly. All right, it's 1:25. Let's get to some of this. What is your least favorite fruit and why is it Lindsey Graham? I thought you were asking me like a legit question, Cynic. I was like, damn, what is my favorite fruit? I was about to ask Laura. Just how bad will the midterms be if we have to start fuel rationing? Oh my God. This is the thing. This is the thing about all of this, Cynic. Their entire argument was that, don't worry, in the new year, we have the BBB kicking in and we have a bunch of other initiatives. The economy is going to take off. They stepped on their own excuse. Their own excuse. That was their own cope. That was their own talking point. And they stepped on it. Fuel is already up. Trump is doing everything he can to manipulate the markets and apparently insider trading off of it. Somebody is. You don't kick 1.5 billion out without. And by the way, they're going to find out who did that. If you think they're getting away with that, Republicans don't get away with shit like that. Democrats do. Republicans do not. Whoever did that is probably, unless of course he's one of Trump's new, you know what, donors, and they go back and forth between Democrats and Republicans, then they won't get in trouble. But you watch. That's a Trump loyalist or a group loyal to Trump or whatever. When Democrats take power, their ass is getting fried. I can't tell you how many lawyers I talk to that tell me the same thing every day. Like, these aren't even smart people. These are dumb crooks. And the Trump administration is like Ulysses S. Grant corrupt. Actually, though, Grant himself it wasn't corrupt. It was just the people around him. I don't even think that's fair to Ulysses S. Grant at this point. He didn't start wars after his sons, started drone companies. All right. Like, I digress. It'll be bad. This is not the end of this is not as bad as it can get, Cynic. It can get worse. It can get a lot worse. I will give you some good news. All right. If anybody's interested in hearing it, if you're a Republican, this is the good news. All right. You will see that MAGA well, this is bad, but bear with me. This part is bad. It's just because I was on it. I will show you something overall that is decent news for Republicans. MAGA independents are less excited about voting. You can see that in versus other independents, which is an absolute disaster. They're a little bit more enthusiastic, but certainty is lower, is trailing. However, when we go by party, where are you, party? Party detail. When we go by party, you can see that Republicans now are barely behind Democrats on extremely enthusiastic. That's decent. That's good. But I will show you, based on how the independents are going, watch. All right. It's good news and bad news. But this is good. There's no doubt. It could be. This was a lot worse. And now look, certain to vote Republicans are basically on par with Democrats, even with likely to vote. That's good. That's very good for them. However, when we go to the generic ballot, let's just do it with leaners and call it a day. Let's go to likelihood to vote. You can see Democrats still are ahead. They're ahead 50 to 43 on certain to vote, which is, 7-point loss. Republicans actually gain a point on certainty. Likely to vote, though, they're down again. They're down by 10. What's been going on is like Republicans have been winning some of the other outside of certain, right? And that gave them a little bit of opportunity, which I think maybe we started to see. The problem is they are shrinking, and the independents who are going over as a result are not voting for them. So, or like not nearly as much as they need to be. And that's like what we just showed you before with the previous MAGA, previous America First. They need them like 90-10, and they're not getting them 90-10. So, and a lot of them, as you can see, like a quarter of them probably will not vote at all. That is problematic. So even as Republicans have been able to increase their enthusiasm and increase their certainty and likelihood, we'll call it, to vote, they basically didn't move. It was still D+8, D+9, right? Where it was last time, because they're losing independents by such a larger margin. And because independents are benefiting. Yeah. They're the recipient of their exodus, of the MAGA exodus. All right. That's what's going on. And that's really what we should call it. The America First MAGA exodus into the independent identification. And you may say, Rich, that's not that much. 16% isn't an exodus. 16% is a fucking catastrophe. This is coalition building. 90%, 70%, 50. We don't deal in numbers like that when it comes to coalition building. You deal in small slices of the pie. And the name of the game is building, building, building. It's addition, not subtraction. That's what Republicans have been engaged in for a year. And here's the fruit of your frigging work. You've cratered. More than 10% decline since November 2024. from 40 to 33. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Truly remarkable. The greatest political comeback in history, destroyed within the period of 16 months. It's quite a feat. And this is why you'll hear people like Robert say, I will never forgive Israel first. I will never forgive them. Well, guess what? Neither will those people. They're not forgiving them either. The trick is Republicans are going to have to hold on to this increased position with their certainty to vote or their likelihood to vote and their enthusiasm, frankly. They're going to have to hold on to it while changing minds again. That's the trick. That is incredibly tall hill to climb, guys. I mean, steep hill to climb, right? That's the expression. And here's by enthusiasm. 52 to 43 among extremely enthusiastic. Among very, it's still 51-41. Moderately, 42-39. They're losing every group. Every group of enthusiasm. Every group of certainty. Every degree of certainty. Every age group. It's just disgusting. It's terrible. Look by education and you will shit. Look at white working class. 48 to 42 Republican. Oh my God. College white, Democrat +4. Non-college, non-white, oh my God, Democrat +30. College non-white, Democrats +30. It's a disaster. This is a disaster. All right, let's go to the next question. That made me laugh, Cynic. Thank you. All right, I've been watching Owen Schroyer, and I agree with a lot of what he is saying at this point. This will be a blunder if Texas goes blue. What a up. Yeah. Yep. I don't know what else to say. You know? And I don't know the story there with Owen and how he left InfoWars. And I know all those guys. I don't care. I like I like trying to mind my own business when it comes to stuff like that. I don't know if anybody else knows in the crowd. I mean, I've never asked Barnes or anything. I mean, I just keep it to myself. It's not my business. I don't know what's going on there. But Owen, I think it's fair to say Owen represents that group we were just looking at. I mean, that's him. That's him. The male side of that, that's Owen and younger. I got to tell you guys, it's the dudes at my car dealership. You know, it's the guy behind the Publix counter here. I mean, I've met so many of them personally that those numbers don't surprise me at all. It's the dudes in my gym, a gym JD went to when he was stationed here. There's no counter argument. There's no counter argument. 16 months. Neoconservatives are a parasitic group of people that you should never let into your coalition, which Owen rails about them all the time, but he's right. Like, we need to do an entire episode on neocons and the history of neoconservatism. They kill coalitions. They are coalition killers. They latch onto it like a parasite, exactly like a parasite. And they drain and drain and drain the host coalition until they are dead. Congratulations, Mark Levin. Congratulations, Lindsey Graham. You fucking got your war. And you condemned the right at home. You condemn them to God knows what is going to happen when Democrats take power. Trump won't have to worry about it. He'll be out of here. Shabbat shalom. Guarantee you see a Trump tower in Gaza. Think I'm kidding? When Democrats come back at him, what do you think he's going to do? Sit around and wait for it? And it's not just him. I'm not sure he cares about himself all that much. I don't think the guy's afraid of anything, but he's got kids. He loves his family. Well, but you can't run. There'll be nowhere for you to run. What percent of GOP primary voters still have a clue that McConnell and Trumpism were ever in conflict at all? Still have no clue. Yeah, that's probably right. It probably is less than that, though. Honestly, Brian, it's probably like 40% now. It probably is closer to like 40. You know, you have that group of Republicans still. You do. That's why I've argued, honestly, like they'll stay on. A lot of them would still stay on if you did what I would suggest doing, which is complete purge of neoconservatives. I would not allow them in my, like, you want to talk about gatekeeping? That's fine. I would not allow neoconservatives into my coalition at all. They have nowhere else to go. They're welcome to vote for you, but they would not be allowed in my administration. They just wouldn't. They Democrats have a ban on them, even though they're neoliberal and they have like a lot in common, honestly. But they have a ban on them because Democrats understand the politics of war a lot better than Republicans do. And they understand. That's why they always get Republicans. They always get dumb Republicans to start dumb wars that they won't spend their political capital on. Hey, gorgeous. How was school? I just want to say hi to my daughter, guys. You look so cute. Can I get a hug real quick? Come on. Bring it in for the real thing. Love you. Welcome home. I have you for spring break now. Don't forget, we're doing the earlier church because it's egg hunt. Okay. All right. What's it called? Something jam? Spring mix or something? Yeah, I got a text. It was like it's going to be great. This is going to be great. You know? And I'll get the pool going. Oh my God. Tell your mother to call Kahuna and ask them if they have my cell. Okay. We have to get the pool going. If they close, all right. Thank you. All right. Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, because it won't heat unless that gets fixed. The heater is like trips I don't know, it's like a safety thing. The heater won't turn on because the cell is broken, I guess. It lasted 3 years. They say this was supposed to last 5. It lasted 3. And now it's leaking. And the leaking is causing a reduction in pressure. And the pressure is triggering the heater, and it won't turn on the damn heater. I've had so many problems with this thing. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, another homeowner who asked me like for my advice, I would tell them like, I don't know, guys. It's a lot of money. And it's constantly freaking broken. Constantly broken. Yeah, so I think, Brian, we're like to like 40. They're overwhelmingly older. So, you know, that problem is going to end up taking care of itself. I'm sorry to say. But the amount of voters that you're going to get and the type of voters and the endurance of that coalition, considering how much younger they would be, if you purged the McConnell and the Bushes, just purge them from your coalition, that coalition would really endure for 30 years, like Trump should have, but he killed it because he let Bushism in. It's irony that the guy who rose to political prominence, attacking Bushism, attacking neoconservatism, brought his coalition down, allowing neoconservatives to destroy it. And it is done. I don't know what else to tell you guys. They think they're going to hold a convention and run around the country. No fucking more. You're not. I mean, you can. That's great. You ever notice who's in those crowds when he does these rallies now? Do they look like 24? No, they don't. Let's stop kidding ourselves. I mean, you can do it. I suppose you have to do it. I told them to do it. The convention wasn't a thing to glorify Trump. And people were like, oh, it's his third term. No, it was a way to juice turnout. And I said, you got to do something big. You have to do something big. It has to be different. You have to do something big. But the problem is you didn't govern for them. So they're not coming to your little convention. I'm just talking real at this point because honestly, you pissed me off a little bit. Like everybody who didn't listen, you effed everything up. And now we're going to deal with Democratic control. God knows what they're going to run all over us. They're going to run all over us. But don't worry because Mike Davis cashed in. Like what the fuck? And you want people to don't want you to look at you like you're frauds? Tough shit. That's your brand now. Trump hates his base because he expected them to just clap along during the Adelson admin. He resents the base for wanting him to keep his promises. There's a big difference. Like that Trump didn't exist in the first administration. He was like almost borderline obsessed with making sure he didn't break any promises to his base, which was a beautiful thing. That guy I'll defend to the death, like just the sheer honor in it. There's no honor in this. It's just good old-fashioned selling out, guys. And the politics of it, I mean, I can't not call it what it is. Like, it's not true analysis if I don't tell you what's really going on here. It's not like attacks. It's not like my own commentary, my own views. I mean, again, join. I don't have time to do it on like this format, but join locals. Read you'll read those comments. I did a Rumble Studio the other day. Go look at some of those comments. That, I believe, was the 22nd, guys, wasn't it? I believe it's the first day included in this poll. Look at some of the transcribed remarks from these people. I don't know how you can't get it. I don't know how somehow like you would be such a sycophant that you can't listen to these people and see what's going on. It's obvious. And a lot of these people I just don't even believe their own crap, Brian. You know, it's like paid to posters, you know, like they're going to have to answer for what they've done, because when Republicans get crushed, like Mark Levin's going to have to explain it to his audience why this was fucking worth it. And it did do this. It was this. It was Iran. It was the Israel lobby. It was. It derailed the administration, period. You go to the White House at a certain time, you see with your own eyes. See with your own fucking eyes. Give us the inside scoop. Thought Trump was suing Murdoch over Epstein. Why would he be talking to him directly, let alone taking advice from a guy who he claims lied about him? Because Trump wants to be back in the cool club. And I think, honestly, I hate to say it, guys, but you don't engage in this level of, it's just corruption going on. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you don't do that and play anti-establishment guy. You don't play, status quo wrecker. You can't. You'll get more of what happened in the first administration when he actually was that. They'll eat you alive, or they'll try to eat you alive. Let's just be honest and call it what it is. Trump, at some point, decided it wasn't fucking worth it. That he was going to make sure him and his were taken care of. And that's it. And he was going to play the game. We should have got the first whiff of it the moment he decided to back Thune over Scott. That should have been and it was, honestly, if you go back and look at the shows, you'll see me object vehemently and vigorously. Thune is a piece of shit. He's McConnell's little butt boy. He raised him. You knew right then and there Trump wasn't taking on anybody the minute he backed John Thune. In order to totally dismantle the deep state, you would have had to remove Thune from his position of power. And somebody who was actually willing to try to do at least some of it had to become the Senate Majority Leader. Had to be done that way. You wanted somebody who would nuke the filibuster? Give Rick Scott a few things. He would have been the biggest voice to nuke the filibuster. I know exactly what to give Rick Scott. Now you're like reduced to talking with the Murdochs because they're friends now. I mean, it's just disgusting. It's disgusting. And by the way, did you see what Dana Perino's little trick she pulled the other day on the 5 last night? I didn't watch it. Somebody sent me the clip. And she's like, these Palestinians don't have any water, or these Iranians don't have any water. These kids don't have any food. They're starving to death. You just fucking cheerleaded for the war, Dana. But that's the Murdochs for you, man. They'll turn on you on a dime. And what does Trump say? Remember when we had lunch together all those years ago? You still look pretty. Oh, thank you. She has a thing for older men. That's why Trump's trying to flatter her. Think I'm kidding? Look it up. Look it up. I mean, I just think he's reduced to that, Eric. I just think that's where he's at now. He's got Nixon syndrome times 11. He wants to be liked by these people. Once upon a time, he didn't give a flying fuck, or at least he campaigned that he didn't. Trump is better as a campaigner than he is as being like, I mean, that's just, I thought he governed the best he could in the first administration. And then Project 2025, Paul Dans and company give him the blueprint to actually control the government this time. And he did, and he used it. He benefited from it. And instead he didn't put it to use though for the people like he tried to do in the first administration. I think lawfare spooked Trump, and the assassination attempt spooked him. And he's thinking about what's going to happen to him and his family when he's no longer in power. Disgusting, Stephen. For people who don't know what we're talking about, disgusting. So fucking bad. Let me see if I can find Quant, who did a post on it. I mean, just brazen corruption at a level that we have never witnessed. I mean, you think Hunter Biden selling his fucking paintings was corruption? You think Burisma was corruption? You just can't be intellectually honest with yourself, guys. Like, this is why I'm not a sycophant. This is why I'll never be a sycophant, not to anyone. I love JD. I think he's a great guy. I think he's in the worst position. I think he's a true believer. He's a true believer, you know, like, and I feel my heart goes out to the guy. It really does. But like, it doesn't matter, you know, like the antitrust shit is not okay with me. And this is the kind of stuff that really bothers me. He doesn't get a pass from me. Nobody gets a pass from me. I'm not selling my soul to anybody ever. Here's what Steven's talking about right here. Okay. 5 minutes. Oh, Unusual Whales first wrote, just 5 minutes before the announcement to halt the attacks on Iran, massive trades reportedly hit the market in one move. 1.5 billion in the S&P 500 ES futures. Yes, is the symbol. Futures was bought, while 192 million in oil, crude, CO futures were sold. These orders were 4 and 6 times larger than anything else at the time. That the trader seemingly made huge gains. Unusual. Anything unusual. Guys, I have been, and this guy Richard down here, look at this sycophant. His name's not even Richard. This is probably Chris Lasivita and one of his bots. Yep, told you. This is Chris Lasivita's bots. 1 following, 3 followers. I wonder who they are. Probably the other bots, all right? Like this guy runs a massive bot operation. Trump derangement syndrome. The Democratic Party is the most corrupt party on the planet. The only states that the Democrats ever win are the ones that allow no IDs to vote. Corruption and cheating is number 1 on the Democratic Party. Give me a break. Okay, Chris. Anyway, Candy, I think it is actually how you say it. It's an AI. Actually, Candy is very cool if you guys check it out. If you are any kind of competent in the market, you have any experience in the markets, which obviously I do. That's what I did before I did this and before I spiraled completely out of control. But that part, you know, this doesn't happen. And as Candy correctly pointed out, 5 minutes before, not 5 hours, not 5 days, 5 minutes. Whoever placed this trade knew the exact content of the announcement before it was made public. This isn't even clever insider trading at this point. It's just openly front-running presidential statements. In any functioning regulatory system, this would result in handcuffs. In this one, it results in a Forbes interview about market intuition. Welcome to 2026. Immediately after, Democratic Senator Chris Murphy then went right to his Twitter feed and was like, what WTF, man? You think Democrats aren't going to be all over this? Of course they are. And more. They've given them enough ammunition. Is it too correct that voters tend to look at federal and state offices with the same biases, even though the roles are different? If so, no, that's a good question. Typically, the state offices will lag the federal offices when it comes to changes in partisan voting habits or the PVI of the state. Like Virginia, the legislature, the House of Delegates in Virginia was still Republican for years and cycles after Barack Obama became the first Democrat to win it in decades. And then it will sink in more and it will become a thing more. But still, state offices tend to have like less strict partisan voting behavior than federal offices. Unfortunately for Republicans in 2025, we actually did see very strict partisan voting behavior in states like Pennsylvania, down to offices like tax collector. I mean, it was local, not just state, but even local. So, I mean, that's why Barnes and I were like still, even though our Virginia poll, which John Fredericks lied about, John Fredericks is a liar, by the way. I forgot. I meant to do a whole segment on that. Yeah, basically John Fredericks, my so-called good friend who I've done like a million favors for, apparently the other day claimed, which I'm probably going to sue him for because it's demonstrably false. He claimed that we did push polls in Virginia for Winsome Sears. I didn't poll that race at all for anybody except for one private client, and the results were never made public. Barnes and I did talk about it briefly a few times on One of the Odds to back up, our his betting suggestions. And if you look, you will see when Barnes says, I don't think she can win it by 10 or more. I was like, well, right now she is. It never got closer than, I believe, 4 points in the poll that we had tracked since mid-October. I even went back and told all the members of the National Association of Independent Pollsters that if you polled Virginia, which multiple of them did, you need to go back into the field and do it again. I don't care if it costs you more money. I don't give a shit, because you're going to make us look stupid. And then because of that, 2 with very high name recognition did in fact go and poll it again. 1 got like a Spanberger plus 10. And I think they both roughly got Spanberger plus 10, and we had Spanberger plus 13.5. So go fuck your mother that I did push polls for Winsome Sears. I never said Winsome Sears had a chance in hell. I told you she was a horrible candidate, despite it getting even closer. And by the way, of those 3 who went back into the field, we were the closest in the attorney general race, because we were the only ones who had Mayoras down. So everyone still thought Jay Jones was going to win that. Or no, they may have had him down like 1. It's possible. I'd have to go and look. Insider advantage. Matt, if he had any integrity, would outwardly say that's bullshit that Rich called me and said, Matt, go back in the field. And I texted the entire group in the group text. So I got receipts, bro. Don't ever accuse me of something, and you better fucking have it locked solid before you do that. Because I happen to have the perfect lawyer at my disposal for these kind of things. It's a lie. It's a flat out lie. And probably because his little lackeys in the White House told him to say it. I didn't poll anything in Virginia publicly. And I don't do push polls. I'm literally the only pollster who can't be bought off to do a push poll. I've seen everybody fall to it. Everybody. So, Rich, are you talking about this one? Rich, are you talking about it? Everybody. I'm the only one who doesn't take money for push polling. The only one. That's why I don't like to poll for campaigns anymore, because every time we have an understanding, like, look, I'll do it, but I'm only going to do it because if I like you and I want to help you in some way, then I'll do it. I have polled for exactly 1 political client this entire cycle. I do not want to poll for candidates anymore. And there's a reason for it. There's 2 major ones. One is, if I poll for them, it takes that race off the table and I can't poll it for you. 2, it always ends up the same bullshit. I only poll legitimately. Don't ask me for push polls. Don't ask me to word the question the way you want me to word it. I am the pollster. I will word the question, and it's not up for debate. And it always ends up that way. Also, I looked over the questionnaire. That's good. Do you think we can ask it like this? Do you think we can do it like, look, I am the pollster. You are not. What do you do for a living again? Okay. Do I come to your office and tell you how to do your job? I don't do push polls. And any one of my clients will tell you that is how I operate. The only one I ever really enjoyed working with, by the way, was the Epoch Times. As far as like publicly, things like, they were fantastic. I wish they had the budget for polling national races again. I would love to partner with the Epoch Times. They were amazing. Amazing. Here's what we want to poll. How do you think we can do it? And they look, you get paid for your job. Like, I'm not going to tell you, I only have enough to do. This is another thing. I only have enough to afford this many questions. And then they always say, you think we can add this? You think we can add that? You think we did? No. It always costs relationships. I'm not your charity. And I'm never going to give up my reputation. Can somebody go look at, what is the Wikipedia that tells you net worth? Do you really think I'm going to conduct push polls for Winsome fucking Sears because I need 10 grand? Bro, stop it. That's like accusing Tucker of taking money from Cutter. Actually, it's not quite, because Tucker has way more money than me. But you'll see, I'm okay. All right? I don't need someone's 10 grand, 12 grand. Fuck out of here. It's ridiculous. And it's demonstrably false, because you can go, had I polled for those races, John Fredericks, had I polled for those races, they'd be on Real Clear Politics. They'd be on Decision Desk. You don't have a poll for me in Virginia, do you? I challenge you to release the poll that you said that I sent you and other people that was meant to convince you the race was getting tighter. I dare you. Where is it? Where is it? Find it for me. Fucking liar. This year has cost a lot of friends. It sucks to say. It really does suck to be like one of the few honest people in this industry. The other one I know is currently tied up in a basement and gagged by his employer. He's not allowed to speak anymore because he's not allowed to tell you what's going on. Anywho, long answer to your question, James, but the bottom line is we are seeing more strict partisan voting behavior for state and even local offices. I don't know if that will remain. That has not usually been the case. Gubernatorial elections, for instance, are not supposed to be strict partisan, and they're not. It's like, that's what Tip O'Neill, when he said all politics is local, he was really talking about gubernatorial elections. That's a little, saying everybody says, but it's true, because like Connecticut's not going to be won by a Republican anytime soon, but sure, the nutmeg state can vote for a Republican for governor and has in recent years. And on and on and on. And also, by that measure, you would take like a popular governor who is a Democrat, like Phil Bradenson in Tennessee. And doesn't matter how popular he was as a governor, he's not going to be able to run against Marsha Blackburn, who's less popular, for instance, and beat her in a senatorial race, because the senatorial race is a federal race and it has stricter partisan loyalties to it. And he got clapped. Yet, we have been seeing some of that in recent elections. I don't know if it's because Republicans are doing that bad. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. It's just Republicans in general, their environment is so bad for them. But for instance, in my state, that survey that came out the other day from the Tribune is almost identical to the one we did almost 2 months ago now. We had 48-41. I think they got 48-40 in favor of Roy Cooper, the former governor. And they got 49-41, Roy Cooper in favor of Roy Cooper over Whatley. Republicans aren't winning a single statewide race. It's awful. So, I mean, typically Cooper would go down because it's still federally a red-leaning state. But Whatley's a bad candidate. That's number one. I'm just going to say it out loud. Bad candidate. Excites nobody. Michelle was a better candidate. And I like Don Brown. Not a good general election candidate. Mara was for a superintendent race, which goes to your question too. They threw so much money at this woman for a statewide superintendent race because they hated her and they wanted all their liberal bullshit back in the schools specifically. I don't know, it was like $5 million to 1 or something, and she smoked them. She was a way better candidate. But no, president's got to come in, endorse the most vanilla guy. Why? Because his endorsement team, Chris and the rest of them, are all making money hand over fist over Trump's endorsement and Trump's endorsed candidates. The deal is you get the endorsement, they get the PAC money. It's disgusting. And they're going to leave you with, if they even win these races, which they're not. Look at how much money do you think he made in the first round alone defending John Cornyn in Texas, since he's involved in the PAC? How much could that have $100 million done for Michael Whatley in North Carolina? A race that conceivably we could have still won. I don't think we're going to now, but conceivably we could have. At this point, he's on pace to lose by double digits. 8 to 12 points. 20-point lead among independents and 15% crossover with Republicans. We're fucking cooked. And by the way, this state, everyone keeps saying, well, the Republicans are gaining. Independents are the largest growing group. You can't afford to just go, bafangul. I don't care about you anymore. You care about cost of living? There's no affordability crisis. What are you talking about? There's no talented people here. We got to bring in more H-1Bs. Like, you don't like the war? Tough shit. BB's got me bent over. I'm starting a war. You can't afford to do that. How will they sell turkey after this is done? You know what? The answer to that is on Laura Loomer's Twitter feed. Same way they sold Iran. They'll be the next great Satan. They've already started to say now Turkey is the greatest supporter, state sponsor, terrorist. States, they are the largest sponsor of terrorists, state sponsor of terrorists out there. They already shifted that goalpost. It's unbelievable. Let's go to some of the locals ones. I'm keeping locals waiting. Are you not going to release any polls in October? I've thought about this, Patricia, because Patriot Carey 82. Yeah. If you are not, then how are they going to hurt towards your results? Listen, I'm thinking very hard about how I'm going to do this. Maybe I just release the results on locals. I know Real Clear Politics will get mad at me because they want our polls in the aggregate. They know we're top notch. They want good quality in their aggregate because they want their aggregate to be honest and accurate. And they know, everyone knows people are playing with polls right now for money. Everyone knows it. So I know they'll be mad at me if I don't do it, but I got to be honest with you, Pat. I'm sick of people copying me. And then number one, you don't get the credit for it. Number two, they'll attack you in a second. So I'm just being used. You know what I mean? They're just using my skill set and I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. I really am. What's Tony going to do when he can't copy me? What are they all going to do when they can't copy me? I'm tired of it. Let Atlas figure out how they Instagram poll themselves. Ryan, do we continue to rebuild the party from within, move the Libertarian Party, as Barnes suggests, or create a third party? I think too much progress has been made within the GOP to abandon it. Honestly, that would be a hostile takeover of the Republican Party for real would probably be the easiest thing. The brand of the Libertarian Party, I disagree with Robert. I think the brand it's bad. And so the Libertarian brand is bad. So I don't think that's a possibility. I'm worried about the brand of the Republican Party being dirtied up so bad too. I don't know how they're ever going to be look, guys, the Israel thing is like the Bush lied, people died, oil for war thing. It's stained them. Their brand is stained by it. Trumpism, MAGA is stained by I'm BB's bitch. That is what the world thinks. The country thinks that is, I don't know. I don't know at this point. It's so hard because I did an episode before the 24 election on how hard it is for new parties or independents to get on ballots. And, it would cost a fortune. You would need somebody like Elon to literally give you $1 billion. It's ridiculous, which he probably has to do, but it's hard. So I still think the best course of action, I agree with you, the best course is to truly purge the Republican Party. Rename means get rid of Grand Old Party. I do have a name. I'm not giving it away. Purge everybody of the neocon background. They want to vote for you. They can vote for you. Fine. But they can't have positions. I don't care about Utah. There are a bunch of rhinos and a bunch of neocons and a bunch of religious grifters anyway. You just get rid of them. I don't care. Trade them for Michigan. Trade them for other. You could bring on, and Fetterman is bad on Israel, but he's not. He's going to be defeated over that. If he is defeated, it'll be over his unfailing AIPAC funding support for Israel. But you could get that wing of the Democratic Party in exchange for cutting the neocons loose, and I would do that in a heartbeat. Because the truth is, you're getting, even if you were to trade 10% for 8%, you're trading 10% that's going to be dead in 10 years, or much of it will be dead in 10 years, for 8% that's going to grow over the next 30 to 40. This is a no-brainer. You're going to lose the midterms anyway. You might as well make a trade that is worth it now. Has anyone tried to reach out to Barron Trump? I don't know Barron. I don't know him that well. I would certainly talk to Barron if he ever wanted to talk, of course. I just don't know him that well. So, Rich just sent a message a few weeks ago through the locals contact us page. Have you or Laura seen it? That's a good question. I don't have your email. I will search for your name though and see if it comes up. There you are. Okay, hold on one second. Oh, what's for? Where is it? Hold on. I'm going to respond to you right now. Yeah, we met. That's a picture of us. I know who you are. Okay. I'm going to respond back with, hey. Oh, I'll CC Laura. There we go. Hey, Laura, can you follow up with Ginger on this? Thanks, gorgeous. And I'm talking to Laura, not you. Although, I got to tell you, I don't know why I think about this, but like, do you know what the percentage is of you to end up with hair color like yours? You know what the percentage is? It's so small now. I just don't want to see a world and people, oh, what are you, racist? You don't want interbreeding? No, I like variety in the world. I don't want the world to look the same. I don't care if we're all blended. It's still the same. I like variety. And there's like nothing like when a woman who is redheaded is pretty, that's a pretty woman. You know what I mean? Like, and the same thing with men. When there's a handsome man who's a red, it's like I just like variety in the world. I don't want the world to look the same. It's not a matter of come on, man, shut up. You know? Yeah, I was actually thinking about that recently. Would it be wrong for me to vote Democrat this November in order to punish Trump and the GOP? I'm in Ohio. That's completely on you, and don't ever let someone tell you that it is. Honestly, I mean, look at the MAGA independents we just went over. They vote. They're going to, like, a quarter of them aren't going to vote. And apparently, 3 in 10 could vote for the Democrat. So you'd be in company. Like, you'd have company. I think this is going to happen. Unfortunately, I do. And that's on Republicans. They made their bed. I don't know what I'm going to do this November. I didn't vote in a primary for the first time in like 15 years. It's been that long. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's on you. I don't think you'd be wrong though, bro. I think that is totally your decision and they have to earn your vote. I just don't see how you're any better than the black voters that the right has mocked for years. Oh, they just vote Democrat blindly and they get nothing out of it. Okay, well, welcome to white America. They vote Republican blindly, or at least a section of them do, and they get nothing out of it. What makes you any different? They're on the Democratic plantation. Okay. You're on the Republican plantation. Okay, homies. So Cornwallis wants to vote for a Democrat to punish the GOP. It's his God-given right to do it. Guess what? You should have earned Cornwallis's vote. And then you wouldn't be in this position, would you? Tell Miriam. Maybe she'll pat you on your ass and tell you everything will be okay. Fucking sellouts. I missed it. What is the war favorability right now? Interesting, Ryan. This is the highest. We did find the war. It's like 40 support, 50 oppose, or I think it was a little over 50, but that's the highest we've ever found it. It's already back down now if you want to see it. Let me see if I can get something for you today. Let me see if I got any results for today. Okay. Where are you? Oh my God, it's getting worse. Too much influence for Israel. It's getting worse. Today is 59% oppose and 37% support. 37.2, I'm doing it in my head. 37.2 support and 58.8 oppose. So that's where it is today. The poll we just put out, though, it was closer, but I don't know. He got lucky. I told locals this in a road rage yesterday. I didn't mean to do that. I wasn't doing it to help Trump. It just so happened that they got a good couple of days in there, and then it tanked right back down again. Just out of curiosity, what is it for independence? Hold on. What do we got for independence today? Generally speaking, do you consider yourself? Yes. Let's add something else too. Where are you? Democratic Party. Which one do you trust more to? Wow. The White House focus tracker is gonna break another record. It's at 66.7 with independents. Is that about right? That's probably about right what it was. Oh my God. 25.2% support and 60. No, That ain't right. That can't be right. It is right. 68.5 oppose. God. Including 55.9 who strongly oppose. My Lord. Well, it was fun while it lasted, guys. Chungster, two things. When they say Americans don't care about foreign policy, that means Americans aren't in support of the blob's foreign intervention, not what they don't pay attention to. That's right. And I don't think that's a question. That's a statement, right? That's absolutely right. It's not that they don't care about foreign policy. It's just that they're tired of it completely dominating the administration when they were always. Do you ever hear a president run on fucking foreign policy? No. They are always running on domestic policy. What can I do for you? And then the president gets in there and they don't do anything for them. It's always the blob, the blob, the blob, the blob. And every idiot in Washington, D.C. from the blob is completely mocked in academia. Those aren't serious worldviews in academia. Yet somehow it makes its way into the halls of power in our government. It was nice to have a realist for the first term. He was a realist. It was nice to have it while it lasted. You know how excited people like Stephen Walt and John Mearsheimer and others were? Like, oh my God, there's a realist in the White House for once. And then he let the neocons take over in his second term. I did a highly extensive research for the 1776 Law Center and compiled a hypothetical lineup of how to staff a potential Tucker administration or similar America First. Published it on Substack. Please take a look. Ooh, this looks fun. What? Didn't do a VP. Oh, you did. To be determined. Okay, because I mean, that could be like a Tulsi, a Kent. Cernovich is right, by the way. They're totally wrong. Will he win? No, I don't think he'd win. But I think he'd get 25% of the vote and destroy the Republican Party. Wow, this is cool. You mind if I share this? Can I send this in the chat on YouTube or something? Check this out, guys. This is actually kind of cool. Not that I expected anything else from you, Chungster. I'm just saying, it's a cool hypothetical. I know I got to get through the comments. I'm way over my time. I can't keep everybody for 3-4 hours. This is neat. So, hypothetical Tucker administration. Let's go through it real quick. Oh, there's Joe Kent, national security. That's who I would make Joe Kent my national security advisor. If I was president, that's what I would do. So you're giving a whole bunch of different things. That's neat. Oh, what's this? Oh, I'm in the White House in this hypothetical. Oh, assistant to the president, senior advisor for strategic data and public sentiment. You want to hear something kind of funny, Chungster? That was being floated as whether or not they needed somebody like that. Like a special advisor that understands. Gatekeeping. Gatekeeping is a bitch. Oh, this is really cool. I would make Robert Barnes. Andrew Kloster. What a great choice. Wow, that's a great choice. Yes. Oh, this is cool. James Bacon, the director of presidential personnel. James is a great guy. The only time you will see Donald Trump's endorsement record be anywhere remotely close to MAGA is when James Bacon basically was the guy who's like, okay, you got to get through me to get that endorsement. And yeah, that was it. I mean, that's incredible. At 100%, Amanda Milius, that is a great choice for communications director. Dan Bishop for OMB. John Gibbs, OPM, that's a good, and he's already got that. I mean, he was over at HUD for a while. He certainly has the background in the corporate world to be able to do that and get, man. Attorney General Jeffrey Clark. Okay, that's what I wanted to see. Douglas McGregor, Secretary of War. What a shame. What a shame. Jeffrey Clark, or hell, I mean, we'll go, guys, go check it out. I'll put it in the chat, and Getter too. Go check it out. I would potentially, I can't go through it all, but that's awesome, man. I would potentially, I'd probably try to get Robert Barnes as the Attorney General. That's what I would probably try to do. There are some really great choices. Andrew Kloster for White House counsel. That's fantastic. I wouldn't even have thought of that one. That's a fantastic choice. I mean, that would be a crazy, crazy White House. That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, James spoke to my son, and he is not deployed. Prayers are now for those families and soldiers that are. Okay, yes, indeed. And honestly, thank God, James. That's fantastic to hear. I'm so happy to hear that. Talking to a lot of the families around here, they are not happy, man. And again, these are all people who they're Marines, like the vice president. They are stationed where the vice president was stationed. They're very proud of that. This is just not what they want. A lot of them are still like, kind of like, especially the older ones are kind of like my age. They're still 9/11 veterans. And they're like, again with this shit, you know? The end of boomerism cannot come soon enough. And there are some great boomers, of course, but that professional class part and, you know, again, we talked about this during book club, and I think two ladies made great points. You know, the professional class problem is the bigger one, and they are the ones in like the halls of power and still have control, and they're the ones directing foreign policy, still fucking Cold War mentality. They're killing us, man. They're killing us. They are. It's just true, you know. I mean, I'm sorry to say it. I don't mean to, you know, again, a lot of people get mad because I generalize. Well, guess what? I'm a statistician. It's my job to generalize. That's how you do this job. And they're killing us. They're gonna be the end of us. So it's sad. Where are we at? Are you filing a missing persons report on Mark? I'm screenshotting this shit and I'm sending it to him right now. Oh, here we go. Did you guys see Barnes's tweet? Footage of Mark Mitchell. By the way, just happened to be the only other public pollster who didn't lie about the situation in New Jersey. I mean, I remember when he came to me, he's like, everyone says this race is close. There are all these close races out there, including friends of ours. He's like, look at what I got, man. Have you pulled this race? And I'm like, no, I'm doing Virginia for a client, but let me see, you know. And he sends it, and he's like, I mean, I don't know. Like, even if I'm playing, and he's like, playing, we always do. It's not that we're playing with the weights. Like, we get curious, and we're like, all right, what if we waited like this? What if we waited like that? So we were doing these exercises, just couldn't get Chettarelli any more than 6 points, anywhere near, like anywhere closer than 6 points. He was just, I mean, all these other polls were showing crossover votes for Jack, and, you know, 15% for the Democratic, you know, 15% of the Democratic vote going to Jack, and like 4% of the Republican vote going to Mikey Sherrill. And it was just totally backward in what Mark found. And Mark was right. Mark was actually right. And he held to his guns and pissed off a lot of people. Got disinvited from a rally, by the way. Love your honesty, man. House crack up. Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. It's it ain't easy, man. You know, it ain't easy. It gets depressing sometimes. Sign the petition for Larry Sharpe for New York State governor. Oh, yeah, because I mean, Bruce Blakeman and his never Trump running mate isn't MAGA. Actually, that's textbook new MAGA right now. That's exactly what we found in the polling, bro. MAGA. That's all I do now when I mess with people now, and I like send them daily polling, you know, especially like my friends who are totally full of shit, and we all know they're full of shit, and they're just gaslighting and glazing their audiences, right? So like, I mess with them, and you can imagine some of the people I'm talking about, right? Like, they're nice people, but it's like, dude, you're bullshitting your audience. You're trying to make sure you don't lose access to the White House. Like, the most important thing is to be honest, you know? So like, I'll just send them shit, man. And I'll just be like, MAGA, you know, like I sent them like what these MAGA, you know, what MAGA looks like now compared to what MAGA looked like in 2024 or even after, because they were building MAGA after. And yeah, I mean, it's just it's honestly tragic. It's like, yeah, okay, MAGA, like it was 16% Hispanic. It's like 6 now, something like that. Let's take a look. I'd have to put race first. I know Laura's going to get mad at me. She's going to be like, dude, you got to wrap this shit up. And she's right. I know she's right. That's Republicans overall. No, that's the electorate. Yeah, that's the electorate. 69.6% white, 12.2 black, 11.8 Hispanic, 3 Asian. That's right. All right, let's do columns and let's do Republican identification now. Former at the end. There we go. I'm curious. Let's do Republican identification. Let's close this on out. America First. Oh my God. 82% white, 5% black, 9% Hispanic, which isn't bad. That's not that bad. It was like 9.7. It's still down, but it's not that bad. 1.5% Asian, 1.8% Alaskan Native. Fucking tragic. Absolutely tragic. It's funny. They're on par. Everything's like on par with traditional Republicans. Do you remember how we used to do this when we would show you traditional versus, well, Hispanics used to be overwhelmingly. Let me see if I do Republican identification here and then race the other way. That will give me a different thing. That's what I'm looking for, because this is how we normally would do it. All right, so Hispanics. Yeah. So remember they used to be like 60% MAGA and like 25% traditional Republican. They're now 49% MAGA and 41% traditional. Blacks are 54-40. This is sad. Whites 50-43. And Asians are actually more traditional Republican. This is fucking sad. It's just so. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the cursing. It bothers me so much. It didn't have to be this way at all. It just didn't have to be this way. Men 55-40 MAGA, women 45-45. I'm done. It's making me sick. Let's get back to the after this mess, I'm sure Iran will seek nukes. They would be stupid not to. 100% profile. They're definitely getting nukes now. Israel will not tolerate that. Can the Dems in 2028 plus stop themselves from aiding Israel? That's a very good question. Very good, because we all know that the Democratic Party was definitely, there's some more anti-Semitic about it. I think there's a more honest conversation happening on the right, despite what you hear on social media and in the media. I mean, if you hang out with these people, you'll know. The left's opposition to Israel is, I think, not all anti-Semitic, just like the right isn't. But I think it's more anti-Semitic than the right is. I mean, they just don't like Jews. A lot of people just don't like Jews. And that's why they couldn't nominate Shapiro last time for vice presidency. I think regardless, Israel will be a pariah in this country way sooner than we thought. Like 10 years, 8 years, I thought it would take. They got a lot of money. So in the short term, they're going to pump that money in and they're going to see what they can get out from it. But the fact of the matter is you will not be able to win a nomination or a primary being pro-Israel soon. You just won't. Once those boomers are dead, I'm sorry, which is going to be soon. Like, once this super seniors that are still the most favorable towards Israel are phased out of the electorate, they just simply won't be able to win. Because who votes in these primaries? Older people, right? Right. So that's how they're able to survive. And by the way, look at Illinois when they tried to take victory laps. Every single one of those candidates went down. Right. Well, why didn't you fund those attacks with AIPAC? Why did you use shell packs? And they did, to hide AIPAC money. So when those commercials that you spent literally 10, 20 to 1 against your opponents, why didn't you want them to say this message was brought to you by AIPAC? Right. At this point in time, Rich, I think Trump was an agent sent in to destroy the GOP and install a technocracy. I used to scoff at this theory, not now. I mean, wouldn't he be a good candidate to convert, even if he wasn't in the beginning? Wouldn't he be a good candidate to convert? The deep state went after him. You give him some assurances they won't do it again. Democratic Party gives assurances they don't come after you again. You don't come after your kids. It's attractive. I mean, I don't know, Grandpa 2134. Can't wait till I'm a grandpa. Well, I can't. That's not true. Don't say that. I don't want to get that old yet. But I'm saying, like, it is kind of cool to think about when you're pops, you know, when you're the man in the reclining chair on Christmas, and there's like 3 generations at least of family, bang, you know, and you're the man, you're pops. You don't even have to get up for your own antipasta, right? Mom, or no, you know, says to one of the kids, go bring this to your grandfather. Yeah. My grandpa was the man. He was the pops. And by the way, fuck you, Mark Levin. My grandfather didn't teach me anything about that shit. All right? It ain't in my DNA, boy. And it doesn't matter what he did or I did. At least he's not guilty of a genocide. At least when he went for his life review, killing 200 little girls, little school children, wasn't part of it. I don't care how many gangsters you shot in the back of the head. He's a great grandfather. Fucking piece of shit. Attacking families you don't fucking know. What a piece of shit. Anyway, here we go. Oh, look, I'm trending. That's funny. What do they want to know? Can they make a comeback? I mean, look, guys, that's about it for the questions. I mean, at this point, I just got to say, you know, you have 4 generations in your house. It's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, Shapiro supporters cried anti-Semitism. Many were concerned about him helping his friend beat murder charges. Yo, dude, I mean, right. Like, these people act like they're like so good or something. Like, I came out on the other end of a drug addiction. I'm proud of myself. What the fuck have you done? You know, by the way, Benji, they raised the enlistment age. You can go fight, bro. Well, you can go fight. Put your little fiddler on the roof down for a second. You know, I'm sure they make those things in your size. I'm sure they make army uniforms in your size, bro. There were a lot of little men in my platoon. You know, you could join. Nobody told you can't. 9/11 wasn't enough for you. Maybe now your country, you know, that you're really loyal to, maybe you can go fight for them now. Go fight with your brothers and sisters, dude. Knock yourself out. This country's been good to you. Give back, bro. Give back. They're always the loudest, aren't they? They never do shit. Wouldn't do shit. All right. Don't forget, well, before we sign off here, let me just say, like, this is the final verdict here. Barring some major outside event, I just don't see it. I don't see it. The odds are so low. It's not impossible, but the odds are so low. And then once you add the war to that, it's without fail, when the incumbent party starts an unpopular war, without fail, they are punished at the ballot box. So, like, again, if it happens, it will be the first time ever. Donald Trump is great at pulling off those first time evers, but look at 2018 reminds us of the limitations even of Trump, the phenomenon. He ran around. He did an exceptional job propping up Republican candidates in the Senate, but couldn't stop the loss in the House. And that was because of the realignment. And he himself couldn't gin up enough turnout to get that, you know, done. Plus the betrayal in healthcare. I mean, it's just too much working against them. And there was a very clear path on how they not only could have made sure that they kept the House, but that they could have expanded in the Senate. There was a very clear playbook on how to do it, and they did everything wrong. So, I mean, while it's possible, anything's possible, the likelihood, the odds, the probability is, at this point, it's like low. Even taking out the war, it's single digits now. We're in March. It's single digits. It's just the truth. And, you know, putting the war on top of that, it's literally 99.9%. Like, you lose. Like, I mean, it's that bad. And it didn't have to be this way. Plus, the polling is really just, it was a leading indicator on what we have seen in registrations and in special elections, which, by the way, do have predictive value. It's about the over and under performances. All right. And we have a large data set from the 25 and 26 so far, special election cycles. And the data set is pointing to an absolute bloodbath. It is. So I don't, you know, again, I think at this point, if Republicans are to pull something off, it'll have to be an event that's out of their hands or totally out of out of their control. I don't think at this point there's much they can do. And I'm going to leave you with a little story. All right. Because again, don't forget, this map will not be as favorable as the 22 map. It won't. It's not even as favorable as the 18 map was great for Republicans. It gave them a structural advantage. Democrats changed the electorate in order to overcome that. That's what Republicans needed to do here. Nothing shy of that. And they failed to do it. Not only did they fail to do it, but they even broke the rule of do no harm. If you're not going to do any good, do no harm. They did harm, extreme harm. Like everything that you should not do, you could not do. You just do anything but do that. All of those, they did. And it's like now, I get these like, the thing I sent out yesterday was in response to hearing from someone I actually haven't heard from in a while. He's been talking shit about me behind my back. And they were super welcoming. Oh, we just love your insight. We just, we need you. We need you on our side. Love what you do. Then they don't take my advice. They do the opposite. And now they come back again yesterday. Saw your poll. Okay, what do we do? The president's trying to get out of this thing. What would you do? Well, first of all, I'd find a fucking time machine and go back and listen to me a year ago. That's what I do. And let me speak for those of you who don't know what I'm saying on Twitter, what I'm talking about on X. I'll do it now. I'll retell the story. All right. Let me put it into terms that, like, a lot of these Israel firsters might understand and relate to a little bit. We're in the reign of King Zedekiah. And Israel, Jerusalem being the city, but Israel has turned its back on God. And they're doing everything wrong. They're not living the way they're supposed to live. They're not taking care of the people who, are the reason they're in the position they're in. And the prophet Jeremiah has been screaming, repent, repent, repent. Turn back to God. This way lies disaster. Babylon will come for you. You will lose your crown. You will lose your autonomy. And you will lose all of your blessings that God has bestowed on you. And King Zedekiah and his sycophant advisors respond with, shut up, Panikin. This is the king of Israel. And not only is he Israel, he speaks for Jerusalem. Sound familiar? You're not going to tell me what Israel is. I am Israel. And this goes on until it becomes painfully obvious that, Nebuchadnezzar's coming and you're fucked. Babylon is on its way. God is bringing disaster from Babylon. And once it becomes clear that that's going to happen, all of a sudden Zedekiah and his once very confident sycophant advisors bring Jeremiah back in the room. Tell us what to do, prophet. We will repent now. We will repent. You were right. Disaster is coming from Babylon. Speak for us. Will you not speak for us to God? What must we do to have God come and defend us now? And Jeremiah said, too fucking late, homies. You're done. Maybe get down, fall on your knees, and beg for mercy, and maybe Nebuchadnezzar will spare some of your people. Maybe. But he couldn't do it. He was too proud of a king. He couldn't do it. So Nebuchadnezzar came after a brief siege when they started eating each other. Zedekiah tries to escape, of course. He leaves his people, including most of those sycophant advisors. And he tries to get away, but Nebuchadnezzar's men catch him. He is blinded for life and sent with the rest of his clapping seal sycophant supporters to Babylon, where they live in chains for the rest of their fucking lives. Maybe you'll understand the analogy here if I quote the Old Testament which everybody seems to be living in the Republican Party these days. Maybe I'm speaking now in your language. Do you see the connection? The time to repent at the last of it. At the last of it was the new year. They had this plan. It was a good plan. The State of the Union was a great speech. It was something they really could have built on. And instead, they did this. They did this. Grandpa Barris already yelling at the clouds. Cynic, I could see myself later, like 80, like, repent. What's wrong, Grandpa? I told that stupid bastard. I could see, oh, Grandma. Grandpa's living in 2025 again when they didn't listen to him. And the country before when you guys reminisce about when you guys were still free. What's that freedom thing? He's talking babbling about liberty or something. I don't know. I guess that was before democratic control. Grandpa's again living in 2025. Carg Island is a trap. Get the U.S. fleet and troops into the Persian Gulf, the Iran mines and strait, and they can't escape. It'll be Trump's Stalingrad. I completely agree with you. I cannot believe Pete and Sean are even remotely considering this as being a smart idea. This is a bad idea. There's actually, this should be, I mean, it's not my usual thing, but this could be a whole episode. I don't like this. I don't like it at all. We get heavy casualties from this. It's going to be a problem. Like, can we just admit it now? Can we put the slop aside, the Fox News slop aside? We're losing the war. Okay. And even if we were to somehow win on the terms like Trump, sent out, by the way, giving them another 10 days because they didn't respond is called a complete and total failure. Like, let's stop pretending like Trump, out of his like goodwill or something, gave the Iranians an extension. The Iranians said, yeah, I hear you. They have absolutely no reason to negotiate. We did exactly what they expected we would do. They studied defeats to the east, defeats to the west. They know exactly how to fight this war of economic attrition, and they are doing it. And if I was them, I wouldn't even bother negotiating with Donald Trump. You have him by the short and curlies. This will forever alter the security agreement in the Gulf. We will be weakened forever. This one will never go back to the way it was because it has exposed, first of all, it shattered long-term dogmas, and it has exposed that we are not as strong as we think we are. We said we were. We cannot protect people the way, and it's going to have ramifications far outside the Gulf. I mean, if you're Japan right now, are you thinking that you're super secure with, Kim Jong-un and his ICBM program, which when he fires an ICBM, what does he always fire it at? He goes over Japan, fires it over Japan. If you're Germany, do you want to, you want to abide by this demilitarization if the Ukrainians lose? Of course not. You're going to militarize again. Trump has inadvertently led us to a likely multipolar system again, which is the most dangerous system in the international system. A bipolar was actually good. Multipolar is a disaster. It leads to world wars. And unipolar is what we had, but the neocons just couldn't fucking accept it. Or at least it's what we tried to have. Nobody's ever seen a unipolar system before, but they just couldn't accept it. They just couldn't take the peace dividend. They just couldn't do it. They ruined everything. I mean, they're just the worst generation to ever hold power in any great power state. And yes, I do mean that. Are they for real? Oh my God. Are you kidding me? I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. I mean, and I would have expected they would have done everything they could to keep him safe in that crowd. I'm not surprised at all. I think that Owen is right. By the time they go to impeach Trump again, there'll be a lot of people who last time his armor guys was his support. I don't think he'll have it anymore. I don't. I think he will have. Well, let's just go through it. Who was at the courthouse waiting when Donald Trump was arrested? You think she'll be there this time? You know, who argued in the House of Representatives against impeachment? I mean, it's the, we'll see how far his new friends are willing to go to defend him, because they were not willing to defend him in the past. I think, like I said, neocons are a parasitic coalition killer, and they never defend anyone. Like, they would have if Ronald Reagan's popularity wasn't as high as it was, Ollie would have taken him down with him. They would have. They take and take and take, and they never give back. They take until there's nothing left to take, and then they abandon you. They don't defend you. They abandon you. And I can't wait until, I mean, look, I don't want to say that, but the truth is, I really wish the president would understand, like now, that these senators are going to vote to convict him. You think John Cornyn's not going to vote to convict him? He's over there chasing the MAGA, the true America First MAGA candidate out of Colorado 3. He's calling her to the White House, telling her, get rid of it. So Jeff Hurd can just have a free path to the nomination. Jeff Hurd, by the way, has taken already $250,000 from AIPAC. Over. That's number one. Number two, Jeff Hurd is a never Trumper. He hates Trump. Hates Donald Trump. Hates his guts. We're back to this again. What was the reason? Because it will help us keep the House. This is the same bullshit we heard from 18. Same bullshit. And by the way, it's not even true. Your problem is going to be a turnout problem. You absolutely need disproportionately high turnout because independents are going to vote badly against you. You need disproportionately high base turnout. You're not getting that with Hurd. And that candidate was locked, by the way. I saw polling in that race. My friend polled that race, and she was crushing him. And now Trump brought her there, convinced her to get out of the race, and you'll be stuck with another AIPAC shill. By the way, if he even wins. With that in mind, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. It's the start of Easter break for me. I really do hope you guys have a great weekend. I got to get cooking here because I got to go and see and make sure that they did get that cell from the pool place. I need that cell before this weekend. All right. Don't forget, guys, if you like the videos, to like them. Thank you so much for all the super chats and all the support, even the sharing you guys do. I really appreciate you guys for it. Laura's right. I don't say that enough. I said that without a reminder today, so it's working. Her reminders throughout the days are working. I really do appreciate it. We all do. And, don't forget, if you like the videos, to share them. Like them, you know the deal. And if you are on Instagram, go follow my Instagram. I am right now the running joke of my kids' friend group. They're like, your father has almost 500,000 followers on X, and he can't get 1,000 followers on Instagram. What are they all, boomers? You guys can't leave me like this. Don't leave me hanging like this. Not only should you absolutely right now go follow my Instagram, which is linked in the description at Peoples_Pundit, but you should message all your friends and say, look at these cool shorts, follow the People's Pundit, right? I'm going to go AI clip some shorts right now for it. Big data poll, by the way, is it's up. The poll, if you want to go check it out, I'll fill in all the trackers as we go. The Massey thing is basically funded. It's not totally funded, but whatever's there right now, add $5,000 to it, because Barnes himself gave to it. So that's how you'll know we'll get there. I can't believe that's amazing contribution on his end. See, people who do this, by the way, without any expectation of getting anything back, just giving out of their own damn pockets, what a difference than this disgusting grifter class that has permeated MAGA. It's just so gross. They're just gross. And yet you have so many good people. He probably didn't even want me to say that. Would have liked to remain anonymous, but I think he deserves it. Oh yeah. Instagram followers coming in hot. All right, let's keep going with that. All right. And if you can share the Massey thing, I think I'd like to start. I'm going to poll Massey probably very soon. I may start Sunday. All right. And, I think that's an interesting race. I feel like it's important we set the tone there, right? I think it's important that an honest, competent pollster set the tone for Kentucky 4, because you're going to have all this trash coming in very soon. All right. If the president's candidate was doing so fantastic, by the way, they would have already released the polling. All right. So there we have it. All right, I'm going to go. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday. Thank you so much as always. And I will see you guys road raging on the road ASAP. Why not? All right, guys. See you soon. Thanks for watching. All the best as always.